We gather in the cosmos bright. Stars and ships take flight tonight. In the void where dreams do play. Soul citizens lead the way. Borders fade in nebula's light. Unknown worlds will chart tonight. Through the galaxy we soar. Endless journeys at our core. Borders fade in nebula's light. Unknown worlds will chart tonight. Through the galaxy we soar. Endless journeys at our core. Starry roads in endless skies. Soul citizens we rise. Charting courses never lost. Together the verses crossed. Squadrons call on the horizon. Battles fought, our hearts aren't frightened. In our ships we face the dawn. Soul citizens carry on. Oh, planets spin and light years fly. Boundless space where hopes reside. Motherhood in every star. Soul citizens, here we are. Borders fade in nebula's light. Unknown worlds will chart tonight. Through the galaxy we soar. Endless journeys at our core. Starry roads in endless skies. Soul citizens we rise. Charting courses never lost. Together the verses cross.
Hey, greetings. Welcome back to Soul Citizens. I am GriffinGamingRPG, and we are back. Today is Sunday, June the 8th. We are in June, fastcart, 6 months, the 6th month of the year. And I want to say welcome to my good friend, co-host, and co-producer, Fastcart FC. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, thank you. Now, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. CC Creator kicking us off 41 months with that resub. Thank you so much, my friend. Appreciate you
CC Creator
being here with us today.
And I'm just happy that I can see clearly my monitor now because it was ridiculous. I had black, not bars, but say black areas of my monitor. I had to get a new monitor, so it's much clearer. It's bright here.
Yep.
I forgot how bright these things can be when you first get them.
Yeah, well, that's good. You're back in the saddle again. That's good. It's always good to upgrade a little bit of equipment. It's always a little painful to pay the money, but once you get it, you're usually happy that you did. So that's good. I'm glad that you're back up and running.
I'm okay. I'm all right.
Yeah. You prefer just having one monitor? Is that what you're saying?
No, I don't prefer having.
Well, that's what I mean.
Two monitors, you can't go back.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. You said you're okay, like you were fine with it. Maybe you wanted to stay with one monitor.
I had the monitor on the floor for like a week because I was scared that I was going to break the new monitor putting it together, but I managed to do it on my own.
Okay.
I mean, the video that they have to set the monitor is like 3 minutes long, or maybe like 15 minutes doing for a regular person.
Okay.
It took me 3.5 hours.
Oh, okay. But you tackled it. You tackled it. And you got it.
Tackled it. Yeah.
That's good. That's awesome. Well, it's good to be back with you all. Thank you guys for being here with us. Some shout outs to some folks that we see already out there. We got lots of folks there. Shitucky, good to see you. Haven't seen your name in a little while. You've probably been here. Maybe I just missed it, but it's good to see you. My good friend Citizen Ninja, who I'm always bumping into out there in the interweb. Lord of the Trip, good to see you as well. Vavrick, happy to have you here. And of course, Captain Jones, thank you guys for saying hello and 07 to all of you.
07.
This week, we are doing a show called The Real Deal. And some of you may have already seen some of the promos for this week. But the topic for this week is talking about a subject that we've heard many a backer mentioned from time to time. Sometimes we were playing with other people in the game. Sometimes you hear it on other podcasters' live streams. This subject of how real things should be. And Fastcart, you've been around as long as I have. We've been around for a while. Where back in the early days, a lot of backers saw Star Citizen, I guess maybe based upon how Chris Roberts even described it. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but at one point, weren't they using the moniker Best Damn Space Sim? Wasn't that something that they were saying at one point?
And then they changed the sim, and then it became
game.
It evolved, but I think a game was the first one.
So was it Chris saying sim or was it people saying sim? That's what I'm trying to remember because this was a while back.
I think
it was a while back. And in the early days,
I'm pretty sure it was in the CDC, not CDC, but the opening video for Kickstarter.
Okay, it might have started there. Okay.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure Chris Roberts started it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the reason why I'm mentioning that is because there were a lot of things in the early days of this game where people were talking about Newtonian physics and a whole lot of stuff. This is before we even had the persistent universe. But the idea of the ships moving with 6 degrees of freedom and all this became like an idea. Even remember there was I don't know if you remember, there was a really big thing about the bikes, about the hover bikes. And, how real those bikes should feel because of physics. I don't know if you were into it that deep, but there was huge conversations about like how real should real be, right? And so,
I have a couple of questions for you. Just to start us off, like, what is real? How do you define real?
Well, I think real
about what you can feel is real. We can smell, we can taste, you can see. Real is simply electrical signals interpreted by your brain.
But I think real for gamers has to do with simulation. It has to do with how close to this feels to real life when we say real. So, there's certain things obviously you can't experience. Like I could be flying a ship or riding on the back of a hover bike, but I'm not going to feel the air blowing through my, my hair, right? But the sense of reality or something that happens while I'm doing it that makes me feel like, oh, that thing would really happen. Like, let's use something really a crude example. If I'm riding my bike and I happen to slam into a boulder at 80 meters a second, 30 meters a second, I'm not going to just hit that and just bounce off of it and land softly and gently. That would break a reality side of how that we would expect something like that to work. But in maybe a more gamified scenario, that would be the more preferred thing to happen, right? Maybe it just slows me down a little bit, or maybe my bike takes damage, but not to the point where I hit it, my bike blows up, I get killed. That would be simulation. As to gamifying, it would be something a little lighter. Mm-hmm.
They're saying they can't hear me.
They can't hear you?
Cannot hear me.
Can you guys hear him now? Go ahead and talk.
Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. I see I'm bouncing on the volume. It's super low.
Is he? What about now? Is he super low still? Wow.
You're louder. Okay, I should be good now because I just went to the red.
Yeah, you're in the red. I'm going to say, I don't know. That's kind of weird. How's he now, guys? They say I hear him.
They can hear me. They can hear me, but
lower than Griffin.
Monitor, I'm red. What do you may have to do is lower your volume somehow.
That's what I'm doing.
It's still low. I'm still low.
That's what I'm doing. No, you're lower than me.
I don't hear you now.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I can't adjust it that much. Hang on. Hold on, gang. Hold on. We're going to get this audio thing together. Let's see.
Man, I did my whole Matrix thing. Nobody heard me. No wonder they didn't react.
All right. Can you hold 1 second? Mic check. Mic. I'm going to bring mine down some. Mic check. Mic check. I'm still coming in hot for some reason. I'm going to pull my mic back some then, guys, and hopefully mine will tone down some. Hopefully. And I'll talk a little softer. Wow, my mic is really peaking. Why is my mic so hot? That's really
your mic
weird.
Is low in Discord, but it might be peaking in the stream.
It is, and I don't know why that is. Hang on, I'm going to check.
Different input.
Nope, I haven't changed anything from last week. I'm going to check one little thing here. Hang on, gang. All right, let me bring that down some like that. Is that better for me, guys? And I'm going to bring Fastcart up. Go ahead and talk, Fastcart.
Testing 1, 2, 3. What testing 1, 2, 3? What is real? How
All
do you
right.
define real?
That's cool. Okay, is that better, guys? Yes. Is that it, guys? One more time, fastcart.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Check,
Okay.
baby, check, baby. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, and this is me. Check. About even. Okay, thank you
Now we're
almost.
even.
Thank you.
There
Okay.
you go.
All right,
Okay.
gang. Thank you,
Much better.
guys.
All
Thank
right.
you. Okay,
Let me turn you up.
so
Cracker Dog, thank you.
thank you, Thrakazogs. I've got to turn you down in my monitor now because you are hot. Okay, there we go.
Well, thank you, Griff. You're hot too.
Ooh, jeez.
I like that reaction you gave to me.
Yeah, I don't though. That's too loud. Ooh. Okay, go ahead and talk, fastcart.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Okay, I got you now. Okay, there you go. All right, I got
But
you now.
when I get excited, I get louder. You know me.
Okay, I got you now. Okay, thanks, guys. Wow, Thrakazogs,
and
thank you.
Griff,
I didn't realize
back-
that was
back to your
5
point.
gifts.
Yeah, back to your point, Griff. If you want to you feel the wind in your hair, just put a fan in your face. You'll be fine.
Yeah. Thrakazogs, thank you again for the 5 gift subs. Okay.
Thank you, Cracker Dog.
Yeah, so I'm trying to address your question that you asked, because that is a question that what does it mean by real that people will ask. And we do need to set like what that barometer is. You know, those when we talk about reality, we're talking about what are things that if they happened in the game, in real life, they would or wouldn't happen, I guess. Does that sound fair as a way of looking at it? Okay. All right. Corsair Cowboy, welcome. Good to see you. Scavenger, good to see you as well. Shimpasta, what's up? Good to see you as well. And Pharaoh, good to see you. Hey, awesome.
Hey, everybody.
Okay, so let's go ahead and get into this. We've been talking. We need to start walking. So let's jump into what we've got going on. So we're going to cover a couple different things here. Alien life.
I'll start rolling.
Fastcart, what do you see in the area of alien life? And we're going to actually, this is going to be kind of a tough one. We're going to do some polling a little bit with you guys today. So kind of bear with us as we do this. Where'd the poll thing go? Oh, there it is. We're going to do some polls with you. And one of the polls we're going to do is ask you all, how real should something be? And you're going to get 3 areas, and hopefully we've never used the polling in here, which is, I think we used it once way back in the day.
We used it a couple of times.
Way back in the day.
5 years.
Yeah. And the question for you all is going to be, how real should something be? Now, this question, I'm not going to ask this question on for this one because I can't ask like how real should aliens be, because that's going to be like a really crazy question, right?
Yeah, we never had aliens, so we don't know how aliens could in real life.
Right, but we are going to get into some other things a little bit later. All right, so I just want to kind of give you guys the heads up that we're going to be doing some polling, and we're going to need your help with this to help us kind of flesh out this show today. So, all right, so Pascal, let's talk about this with aliens. We've got several in the game right now. Why don't you talk a little bit about the different ones? And my question to you is, like, do you think that what they've created falls within the realm of, are they too, and it doesn't have to be real in the sense of real, but I'm talking about like believable. Do they seem believable versus, for example, cartoony? Remember when we watched Wing Commander? A lot of people had a problem with the way the Calrathi were, right? How do you feel about the design and what they've created about the different alien races we have in Star Citizen?
Well, as you know, but people may not know because maybe their first time watching us, we have currently 4 aliens that we know about in the Star Citizen universe. We have the Banu, which are traders, merchant people. We have the Vanduul, which is more like nomads and warrior type. And we have the Xeon, which is like scientific, like you may want to say like the Romulan or Vulcan equivalent in Star Trek. And then you have the Tevarin,
however people pronounce it.
Those are like the bird-like creatures that have assimilated within the UEE. And then there's the 5th one, which is called the Katak. And we don't know much about them. We have suspicions about what they may be. But yes, we not much information known about them. But as far as like how real, I mean,
I'm not saying real. I'm saying believable. Believable is more of a word I'm looking for than real.
I think they are believable because they fall within the science fiction trope of being bipedal and humanoid. Yeah, so I think they are believable in that aspect. But as far as like scientifically accurate or like would they really exist in the real world? I have no clue. I'm not a biologist.
Right. Right.
Yeah, but they seem similar enough to humans that they could exist.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Do you think that by creating alien races that are somewhat familiar in the fact that just in general, I'm just speaking in general now, they have two eyes, for example. They can speak using verbal language in some form. The fact that they are bipedal. Do you think that that makes them approachable to us as far as players and gamers? Or because if they were like, let's say they only had a single eye, how would we, would that be a thing? Would that throw us off? Or is that something that you think actually would be kind of cool if they did that for one of the races?
I think it would be kind of cool, but I think it would be harder for people to identify with. They're not that too unusual per se. I'm pretty sure that scientific papers, psychologists or psychiatrists can tell you a whole bunch of information about what is too much when it comes to like, because there's the uncanny valley, but that doesn't really apply to alien. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that there's some kind of curve that says if you go this far, that's too much, and people won't like it.
Yeah.
If you just put it within this range, you're good.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure CIG has put them all in that range. As far as, I think like the most alien one, if I had to guess, well, we don't know about the Qatar. The Tivan seem, to me, in my opinion, seem to be most alien because they're bird-like.
Yeah.
But I mean, you could say that for almost any of them because one of them is like a turtle,
right?
Cow. Yeah, so you can say that about any of them. But to me, I think the Tivan are the most alien.
Yeah. What about as far as like the Vandul? Are they more menacing to you because of their design? Or is it because of who they are, knowing their background? I mean, like, because they seem to be created to be menacing, right? They didn't make the Xi'an the bad guys in the game, right?
Yeah.
Right. But is that like realistic? Because couldn't the Xi'an be just as bad as
I mean, you were at war with the Devons, because they were the bad guy at one point in the lore. But we befriended them. But I don't think that's going to happen with the Vandul.
Yeah.
But as far like they have claws, right? So I think anything with claws is like a predator. I'm sorry.
But who's scarier? Who's scarier visually?
The Vandul.
Okay, and that's,
I mean, I'm biased because I've seen all the stuff. So,
no. I get it, but here's my question. My question is: are they more menacing because of the way they look? How come the Xi'an can't be just as bad, menacing, terrifering to us?
Human perception.
Okay, and that's what I'm saying. So is that real? Is that real?
Because they have that smooth hair. They look like a turtle. They're kind of cute. So ugly that they're cute. They fall into that category a little bit. But so
is that realistic?
More like,
is that realistic?
I mean, I believe it.
All right. There was an episode on the Twilight Zone called "To Serve Man." Do you remember that episode?
I might have seen that.
All right. There was an alien who shows up. It was the guy who played Lurch in the Addams Family. He shows up and he comes as this, they think he's an ambassador from this other planet, and he looks just like a humanoid, except for he's very tall. And anyway, to make a long story short, at the end of the story, they find out that there's this book that's called "To Serve Man," and they think it's, what do we have to do to serve the people, like with technology? No, it was a cookbook. Okay.
Oh yes, I heard of that one. Yes.
Okay, so my point is that is it realistic just because something looks a certain way to assume that they are the bad guys, right? That was my question about, is it realistic? Because the Vandul the Xi'an could have been created And their lore could have been, here's the guys you really got to worry about. These little turtles will eat you up if you're in a room by yourself with them, right? And the Vandal could have been the guys that'll, help you out and hook you up.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I've recently reread Old Man's War by John Scalzi. Have you read that series, Old Man's War? Okay, it's a great series. I recommend it.
Okay.
Anyway, they have a section in the book early on where they're describing different alien and human biases towards the alien. Like they had this a slideshow showing this one alien creature. They look like a bug insect, but they're friendly to human. And then they saw another alien that looked like a deer. So we saw, deer is cute, but they eat human.
Right. Remember,
so it's human biases.
Yeah. That's my point.
CIG picked up on.
And that's my point. Remember when they first showed us those little brain-like things that float around Hurston? We were scared of those things, but if you read the lore about them, they don't even do anything to you. They look scary, but they're not a big deal. So that's why I was asking about when we talk about what's real. I hope that CIG does create things that some things we may think are bad, only to find out that they're actually not bad, and then those other things, because otherwise it's too predictable. If we look at it and say, oh, that must be bad, then we kind of know how to respond to it. You know what I mean? So don't get me wrong.
But then again, this is the game, so you want things to be simple. Sometimes it can be too simple. It can be too simple.
And this is exactly why this is called The Real Deal. How real do you want to be? You say it should be more simple. I feel like no. I want people to
No. I think a CIG may want to make it simple to make it easier on players. I wouldn't mind.
I'm saying don't tell them that. Don't even tell them that. Don't even tell them that.
Mess around and find out.
Don't even tell them. That's what I'm saying. Right? Exactly. Yeah. I don't want CIG to make it simple. I want them to make it so that when you encounter something, you don't know until you do, like you said, whatever the level of investigation you want to do, right? Because there are some of us who will just shoot stuff because it just don't look like us, and that's it, right? So, okay. All right. Let's move on to the next one here then. Past alien life. Let's talk about creatures, Terran in particular. And maybe you can share with people, we talked about, like, when we say the Terran creatures, what are we looking at?
When you say Terran, I mean, you're not talking about the
yeah, we are. We talked about what there was in the
cows and stuff.
Well, not the cows, but we talked about there were certain things at the Kickstarter when we got to those different milestones.
Oh, the pets. Yeah, the pets.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I forget what number. I think it was 63 million. But they said they're going to put pets in the game, and we haven't gotten those yet. But I'm pretty sure they're working on it. We just don't know when. But yeah, they talk about specifically in the Kickstarter. They mentioned dogs. I'm pretty sure they're going to have cats and whatnot. But maybe those two. I'm not sure how much. It depends on how much cover they want to go to. I'm pretty sure they're going to have cats and dogs as pets. But yes. But as far as how real. Medium level. I don't know. Like,
okay.
You want a dog that can follow you.
Well, do you want Terran type of pets in the game? I think that's what I want to lean toward. Or are you more interested in maybe things that are much more exotic from other places?
I mean, I wouldn't mind having a dog in the game, but if it's a cool alien that I can get behind, and or maybe it could help me not do stuff, but help me hunt stuff or something, and I don't have to worry about it. Like if it gets shot, I don't know what happens then.
Yeah.
But maybe it's something. I mean, it depends. Like maybe like a plant that mews, animate, that might be cool.
Okay. I'm like you said, I know that the dog was one of the things that people have talked about for a while. We've talked about like people want to do fishing, right? But that doesn't mean it has to necessarily be fish from Earth, right? It could be something else. But the question about is, how much do we bring from the lore of Earth and Terra into the game versus those things that maybe, which is our next category of stuff, which is alien creatures, right? Right now we've got, you mentioned earlier, we've got the Copian. We've got the Martox or Marocs. I forget what they're Maroc. And then we've got the
grazer.
The quasi grazers.
Right.
How do you feel about what they've designed so far within those three categories? The Copian, the Marocs, and the quasi grazers. Are they? I mean, do they feel alien? Go ahead.
No, yeah, we got our dog analog, which is the Copian. We got our bird analog, which is the Mark. We have that cow analog, which is the Grazer, and then we have our worm analog, which is the Valakar. We haven't mentioned that yet.
Mhm.
I'm okay with those so far. Um, I mean, a lot of people want to have a Copian as a pet already because
Mhm.
we don't have a real dog. So I see them. I mean, they're working towards in game having NPCs having Copians as pets. So I'm pretty sure they'll allow players to have them as pets sometime down the road.
Mhm. Yeah. Now I know that at CitizenCon last year they showed that Copians were working as pets/guards with the NPCs, and they implied that that was kind of moving us toward the point where we as players would also be able to have something similar like that going on. Do you feel that people will want alien creatures? Well, I want to get beyond the pet side of it, right? And let me show you some graphics real quick, okay? Because I think this will be helpful. I spent some time, you guys, the wonders of technology these days with AI and Chat GPT and stuff like that. So these are just basically things I loaded in. Basically, I would tell Chat GPT, create something with this, and this, and then it would come up with, literally a creature. And I would ask it to give me behaviors and all types of stuff. And like this particular one here was called a Korath Strider. It even gave me a homeworld for it. And they did it based upon the design of the creature, right? A rocky, wind-scoured planet with sparse vegetation, jagged canyons, and frequent electrical storms. And they say this thing is roughly 1 meter tall, weighs about 30 kilograms. It's sleek, bipedal reptilian predator, resembles a fusion between a velociraptor, a thorn lizard, and a praying mantis. It's got an exoscaly armor to it. It has claws and tails that are oversized, sickle-sized talons. And then it says with its head and senses, with a narrow forward-facing skull and with 4 independently moving eyes, it is nearly complete panoramic vision. Its forked tongue constantly samples the air for chemical cues with specialized lymphatic organs that detect subterranean vibrations. So this thing can actually feel when you're walking on the ground if you're getting near it. And then they give you a whole thing about behaviors. It's an ambush predator. It hunts in packs, right? And so they give you all types of cool stuff if you want to do things like this. And then, of course, they talk about it being apex and some territorial intelligence to it. I'm going to show you just a variety of different samples. Like I said, that one has 4 eyes with 360 degrees of viewing. This one here is, I got to remember what the heck this thing is called. This is actually called a Zernal Reaper. It is volcanic. Ooh. Comes from a volcanic, ash-choked world with crimson skies, sulfuric geysers, and labyrinthian obsidian caves. This is about 3 meters tall, almost 10 feet, quadrupedal while stalking, and approximately 6 meters long, including its tail. Got a leathery skin covering, wedge-shaped head with 10 eyes arranged in a semi-spiral pattern, 6 in the front for depth and movement detection, and 4 on the sides for full environment awareness. 2 large razor-edged mandibles from the mouth, capable of shearing through armor or bone. Behind these are 4 secondary pincers used to restrain its prey and deliver venom-laced bites. It's got 6 legs. Yeah, it's the detail that the stuff actually creates is really, really crazy. I'm sorry that image is a little dark, guys. I should have brightened it up for you. It's got a tail that's got a muscular whip-like tail, tipped with a serrated stinger. The tail doubles as a bludgeon, an injector of paralytic venom. It also rattles when threatened. It rattles when threatened, emitting a sound known to trigger terror responses in native fauna. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it triggered something. It triggering a terror response to me just looking at it. So yeah, it's a pretty good job.
Yeah. Now this kind of gets more into the traditional looking stuff. I wasn't that impressed with this one, but this is like the very first one I started with, and I realized that I needed to make the descriptions much more intense. This one here, it was called I don't remember what it's called, but basically what I typed in was, what I said was a land-based aggressive apex predator on an alien world. It should be larger than a man and smaller than a Tyrannosaurus Rex with 1 area of vulnerability. And then it goes through a whole outline of different things. This was the second one that I did. This one actually kind of was supposed to be under an arachnid category, but if you notice, it's also somewhat serpentine with a tail on it, which is really kind of interesting. This one has a soft abdomen, limited sensory perception, but it's got venom dependency. And then the last one I want to show you. Now, this is a lot of this stuff looks somewhat like a mixture of things that we're somewhat familiar with from the sense of a terror standpoint. But the next one I'm going to show you is a thing that people have been asking about. And that's something that we would literally consider that is more alien. Not this one. This is just a double-headed snake. That one there. How would you feel about aliens like that in a form of...
Yeah. My first impression when I first saw it is No Kill Eye from Star Trek, the original.
Oh,
series.
but that was silicon based. Yeah, this one is called a
That was silicon based.
Yeah, this one is called a Virilian. This is called a Virilian maw. A Virilian maw. Okay, it's semi-translucent gelatinous organism, about 30 meters wide and 6 meters thick. It's got an outer membrane that shimmers and is iridescent, concealing internal structure of pulsing organs, ascetic sacs, and muscular tendrils. At its center lies a dense calcified nucleus. A biocomputer-like organ houses a distributed nervous system. It uses electromagnetic pulses and bioluminescent flashes to process environmental data and direct its movements. Even though it's bulky, the predator glides with surprising speed, using Scylla-like appendages beneath the body and occasional hydraulic bursts from internal gas bladders. On land, it undulates slowly like an oozing tidal wave. In water, it can jet propel itself at high speeds.
This thing made me think it's a predator. It'll eat people.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm feeling when I'm looking at it.
Yep.
Citizen Ninja wants to know, how does it taste?
Oh God, yeah. I don't think you want to mess with this thing. It says it has high intelligence, capable of problem solving, ambush coordination, and even rudimentary trap building using surrounding terrain. It has been known to dam streams or corral prey species into kill zones. So for some of us, when we've talked about like what will predatory aliens look like, and you mentioned this earlier, like even with the new Valicars that have been introduced, it's still a familiar thing in the sense of like a worm, right? You know, but to find something that we're not used to that has intelligence, I think is something that people would be interested in. So, you know, I don't know. Yeah. Do you think that things like this would... Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, do you think like this would be real? Like, remember we were saying we don't know what aliens look like. Do you think things like this would be something to introduce?
Yeah, I think that'd be cool. Debris Field says nope. That's what I'm feeling when I see this. Nope. If I see this, I'm going the other way. You'll see a smoke in the shape of me. That's how fast I'm getting away from that.
Yeah.
Okay. But I mean, it'd be cool to have in game. Mm-hmm. Maybe they'll put some kind of mechanic on it, like the Valakar, where if you pick up some kind of organ from it, it's valuable somehow, so, or maybe craftable, or maybe like the armor, the membrane is good for armor. We don't know. Yeah, so,
or chemicals for science, right? I mean, to do other things, like you were talking about on the Endeavor. Maybe there's some things that you can harvest from this thing to do some other type of science and research stuff with too, right? So anyway, it was just an idea. I just ran those through the old computer yesterday, and that's what got generated, and it was very cool. I used both. If you guys want to know what I used to generate that, I used ChatGPT to come up with the descriptions, and I dropped it into Copilot to see what they would drop out, and that's what it produced. So it's very cool stuff. Okay. Let's move on to this next one. This one kind of was not controversial, but when this first came up, and when it got implemented in the game, this is going to only be up for 1 minute, y'all. The question is about nourishment. How real do you want nourishment to be? Do you want it to be like moderate, or do you want it to be like arcadey, or do you want it to be like simulation? I'm really curious to see what you guys think.
By the way, the poll is only on Twitch, correct? Not in YouTube.
Yes, it's only in Twitch. Yeah, it's only in Twitch. Did it pop up or didn't it? I can't tell if it popped up or not. Did. Okay. So you guys take a quick poll real quick and jump into that real fast, because I can't see if it came up or not.
You only got 30 seconds. So vote quickly.
And the thing that people were worried about was whether or not nourishment was going to make Star Citizen like a survival game. Like either you had to be eating and drinking all the time, you know, or that it would be difficult to eat and drink.
Yeah, I forget what year this came out, but there's a big uproar in the community about whether or not this is going to be a
mhm.
good thing or a bad thing or too much thing. Because people are so used to how the gameplay is when they're playing it, and they don't realize that it's still an evolving. It's still an alpha. It's still being developed, and CIG will add stuff to subtract stuff depending on how it works for Chris Roberts' vision.
Yeah.
So yes, people were afraid that we'd have to eat something every 10 minutes, and it turned out to be every 3 hours. So yeah.
Yep. Well, right now, the poll that we got, you guys, just so you know, what came out, moderate came out at 56%, and arcade and simulation both came out at 22%. So I think people want there to be some type of engagement with it, but not the engagement at the level where it's cumbersome. I think that, like you said, fastcart, a lot of stuff isn't in yet. Like the full benefits or negatives of eating and drinking, the type of food you drink, like eating a hot dog. There are some things that are there. Like you can tell you dehydrate off of certain things faster than others.
Right.
But there's still also a lot more stuff that they haven't put in yet for the protein bars and things like that. I'm really curious to see how this also affects us. I'm not trying to be gross, y'all, but what affects us with going to the bathroom, right? Like if I eat a burrito, do I have to go to the bathroom more frequently, right? Or because like if you notice in the game, the food that's the quote unquote bad food is the easiest to access in some places. Like at the spaceports, there's always either a hot dog stand or a burrito stand. Like right when you come off the elevators, right? You have to literally go down to the Galleria to find the food that's a little bit more healthier for you. Even Microtech has more variety of better tasting food than maybe if you go to Hurston, right? So
healthier food. I don't know. Healthier food. Yeah.
Yeah. So I am curious to see how that's all going to balance out later when people start stocking up their ships. Will healthier food, like in real life, cost more money than the food that's not so good for you?
I would imagine so.
Yeah.
Or like it could depend on what if you decide to spawn or set your home location on ArcCorp or Hurston. You may not have access to better food. If you set your spawn point, your home location to New Babbage or Orison,
Yeah, because I know like certain places the food is definitely like New Babbage's stores are better, right? They've got more variety and better. Other places they ain't so hot. It all depends on where you go. But it's just a question to ask. I know ArcCorp doesn't have like the greatest.
I'm not setting my home location in Cairo. I was there over the past Friday. I'm one and done. Thank you. I'm good.
You don't want to get you a crate of aloe prat and just have a whole bunch of little rats on a stick. You don't want the rats on a stick thing, huh?
No, I was offered some noodles and I said no, thank you.
Yeah. War Sheep. You know what? God knows I wish that was the way it was over here in the States. Yeah, I know you guys don't have the whole. It's not that much different there versus here. It's definitely an issue here. Having the better food, you're gonna have to pay better wallet, better money. Okay, that's nourishment. Let's push forward. This one's one we can have a good conversation about, and that's medical and recovery. Injuries, recovery, and insurance. And we kind of have to talk about this in context of the way the game is now, and then maybe later on what CIG it said that they would like to do with this area. There's been a lot of roller coastering, right, with the whole medical thing, right? Spawning, spawning, respawning, death of a spaceman, all that stuff has been like a big roller coaster. What do you see based upon what we do now and where CIG is going? Do you think they're going to go the direction that was originally talked about for Death of a Spaceman, or do you think it's going to be modified and pulled back some? Is there going to be some happy medium between? And for those of you who don't know, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I haven't read the original document for Death of a Spaceman in years, but originally the idea was that when you died, you would have a certain amount of times that you would come back. There was never a designated number of what that meant. And once you had expired those times, we never knew what it was going to be, 3 times, 7 times, 10 times, 15 times, whatever. Then you would, right. But we were never given a number is all I'm saying. We were never given a number. But once you hit that last time, the idea was that or something catastrophic happened, that you would pass on whatever it was that was part of you to a next of kin, your property, your items. And then I think later on there was this dynamic of being able to transfer. Who was that? Whoa, Lord of the Drip,
Yeah.
20 community subs. Oh my
20.
God, thank you so much. Wow, you all show some love to Lord of the Drip for those 10 subs. Thank you so much.
You.
Warsheep, thank you for the follow also. We really appreciate you being here. Thank you. And so anyway, there was supposed to be this trend. Now, do you remember when they talked about reputation? That came later, right? Because was reputation a part? That came later, right?
That was later. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, from the start, it was just your item.
It was your stuff. Yeah, your stuff, like right? Your stuff would get transferred. Okay, right. What do you think?
No, wait. I'm remembering now. Reputation was part of it because it said like if you're part of a criminal organization, your next kin would get some of that, but not all of it.
Not all of it.
Yeah. So it was originally there. My mistake.
Okay, I don't remember. So if it was, I just know at some point reputation became a question. I just didn't know whether it was there from the very beginning. What do you see as being? Is it, how far should they push that? What's the line for when it gets too easy and too gamey, and when it's just too much of a hassle for you?
I think it'd be too gamey if we get complete reputation, like the full reputation to our next of kin. I think that's too gamey, too easy.
Okay.
I think maybe like if your character died and you only get a quarterback, I think that's too much. So maybe like 50% or 60%.
Okay.
Somewhere around there.
Okay. 50%, 60%. Okay.
Yeah, 75 would be good. Between 75 and 50, yeah.
Okay. Here's a hypothetical question. This is super hypothetical and put you on the spot with. How many times should you be able to regenerate?
5.
5 times.
Mm-hmm.
5 times.
And that means that some people may be able to regenerate 4 times. Some people may be able to regenerate 6 times. You don't know, but they have said that you will be able to buy life, but we don't know if that's coming. If that's really going to be implemented, or they change their mind about that.
Wait a minute. You said we'll be able to do what?
We'll be able to buy our life. So, like, let's say that you died a number of times, and you're afraid that the next time you die, you won't come back. You have to go to the next of kin. They say you can go to a medical center and get life.
You can extend it.
That was back in 2013. We don't know if that's going to be what they're talking about now.
5 times.
So like you know,
wait. Admiral Kusanagi says, so you want me to die 5 times and lose half my money? This is some serious taxes, right? Count down, Admiral.
Take the risk.
Okay,
take the risk.
All right. You all, real quick, punch it in chat. How many times do you think you should be able to die before you literally lose your character and you got to create a new one, or you got to pass your stuff onto a new character? What would you guys pick as a number? How many times? And I'm just gonna base it on Citizen Ninja 69.
Okay. Yeah, 100. I don't think so.
I didn't know Piss Poor Pete was here. Hey, buddy. Oh God, 100 times, 100 plus.
2 people said 100. 3 people said 100.
You guys died too easily. Oh my God, 100 deaths. CC creator.
Oh, Colossal going hardcore. Colossal said 1. Colossal said 1. One time he died, and that's it.
Paglamia says through 9,000, over 9,000.
Okay. Okay, I get that one.
That's interesting. Yeah,
I think 10 and 15 or 10 and 25 seem to be the average.
Yeah. Well, so somebody said I died 5 times in a minute.
The game kills you. The game kills you too easily now. We don't know how it's going to be in 1.0. Maybe it's representative, maybe it's not. But yeah.
Piss Poor Pete said he dies 5 times in a session, so he wouldn't make it through one day.
I mean, you take the risk.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
I am risk averse, so
okay.
that's why I'm saying 5.
Okay. CIG showed us a couple years back different levels of injury, right? Like right now we get like a tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. And some of those features are in there. Like you can get a injury so bad that you can't hold your weapon up. But one of the things they showed was that you get so injured that you can't even walk. I remember at one point that happened to me where I was conscious, but all I could do was crawl. I could not get up and walk. And I think, is that still in, guys? Because I haven't gotten injured that bad recently. Can you still get so injured that you can only crawl? Does anybody in chat know? Because at one point they were talking about your arm being broken and all this other stuff. That happens when you get a tier 1 on both legs. Okay, on both legs. Okay, Warsheep, thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and I've had that
sense.
happen. It doesn't happen. Most of the time people go and heal up before it gets that bad. But I remember we were doing the platforms in Orison, and there was no medical thing. You know, once we got to a certain point, it got really intense, and I was really jacked up. And it doesn't happen that often now, I think, because there's so much easy access to med beds, whether because people have a Pisces or something like that with them.
Or people are bringing medical pins and med guns and stuff like that, but it won't cure a broken leg, I don't think, right?
So do you agree that right now respawning is set up the way it is right now to get people quickly back into the action, but it might change later on?
I would, yes.
So
it might change later on. We don't know how. So
what would you want to see when someone gets injured? And I'm saying this in light of us having things like the Pisces, the NERSA, the Cuddy Red, the RSI Apollos, right, and the Endeavors, and then you've got landing zone hospitals. Some people feel like those certain ships, like the Cuddy Red, and say anything with a tier 1 bed will be obsolete, but evidently there's going to be a reason for them, right? And then you've got tier 2 beds. So what did you like to see as far as that goes? Are tier 1 beds going to be obsolete to you? Is there a way for them to be functional that means something to you?
Hey, listen, I'm going to get the best insurance that let me get the best medical care. I don't know how that's going to work out.
Okay, so let me
just for me.
So let me give you a scenario. Here's why I think it'll matter. Those of us who have some of the newer ships, like the Ursa, the NERSA, you know, those ships. When you go to the medical station, and most of you guys already know this, I'm not telling you nothing new. There's an area there for you to put a resource in it, right? And the assumption is that resource is something that's going to be used to help you regen. Now, right now, we've got the regen crisis going on in the game, right? What happens if that regeneration material is extremely expensive? I mean, extremely. You're talking about the power to bring someone back to life or to heal their wounds on site. So when you say, oh, I'm going to get the best of medical care, maybe it's not the best of medical care. Maybe it's the fact that can you afford to put the stuff that you need to put into your ship to heal a level 1 injury or a level 2 injury?
I'm a bad person to ask about this because I'm so risk averse. Like, y'all go out and do combat, the drop of the hat. I'm like, hey, I'm just gonna hang back, be where it's safe for me. So I will try to buy the expensive stuff if it is expensive, just for my peace of mind.
Do you think that is a way to make the different levels work? In other words, I can't afford to pay for this. You know what I'm saying? Like, I honestly can't afford to. So the most I can do is get ambulance service is what I'm saying. I got somebody takes me to the hospital in order for me to get healed up because I don't have somebody's got an Apollo here. Level. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But in order to heal a bunch of us or bring us back to life, it's going to use a tremendous amount of the resources on that ship, right? But maybe that person says, I can heal everybody at level 2, but we got to take you to the hospital if you want to be 100%, or we got to put you on the Endeavor hospital. I'm just trying to figure out how will they make those all relevant? You know what I mean?
I will say this. If someone gets injured on my bandit merchantman and they want to use my good stuff, I'm like, you got to pay for the good stuff.
So is that what you would do?
It won't be for free.
No, I'm serious. Is that what you would do? Yeah. If it's costing you...
That's what I would do.
Okay, so there's an economy.
I would charge that person to use the good stuff.
And so my point is there's an economy to it that makes it relevant, right? Not the equipment, but the economy to run the equipment. is what may determine whether somebody gets in a Cuddy Red and can, get a certain level of healing. And because a lot of people think those ships, remember when the Cuddy Red stopped healing, people melted them and got rid of them because they thought they weren't relevant anymore, right? But we'll see. I don't know, chat. I see you guys are saying a lot of stuff about it. Yeah, the regen juice. Look at that. Yeah, if the respawn juice is $5 million, we have to rethink how we do medical gameplay. Because you're talking about literally being able to bring someone back to life and heal their wounds, right? Right now, we just get in there and do it as no charge. But if they start making that cost something, or if there's just limited resource, right? How much can you carry on your ship? Maybe if I heal people, I can do it 50 times. But if I bring somebody back to life, I may want to do that 5 times. Yeah.
5 times,
because I have to use more material, right? So it'll be interesting to see what they do, guys. We're just speculating. But we know that there's going to have to be some way that all of those things become relevant at tier 1, 2, and 3.
I think no matter what the idea decide to do in the end, people will complain until they get used to it.
I'm not worried about them complaining.
It's not that bad.
I'm not worried about them complaining. That's not my subject of this conversation today. I'm trying to talk about what is real in the game to make things feel realistic. Because right now, what we're doing is not realistic. Just jumping into a back of a ship is not realistic. It just removes, you said it earlier, it creates an aspect of there's no risk. It's not a big deal, right? And we're going to get to that when we get to the looting subject.
One thing I will say, I think the time between death and respawn should get longer. Yeah. I think that should be a thing.
Well, you mean when you say between death and respawn, you're saying when you're dying, you shouldn't be able to do it instantaneously and you have to wait for a while? Or are you saying every time it happens, it should take longer?
When you die, when you die and respawn inside a medical bed, that should take longer.
Are you saying like at a hospital? Like a landing zone?
Yeah.
Like what's longer?
Wherever you set your respawn point.
What's longer?
It depends. See, maybe like the longer the distance, the longer it should take. Maybe like
the further away you are.
The further away you are
from a spawn location.
If you're one system over, it could take 15, 20 minutes.
What do y'all think about that?
Than a system over.
What do you all think about that? Distance has an impact on your spawning time. So in other words, if you brought something mobile like a ship with you, it could happen faster. But if you didn't bring a ship with you and your respawn point is back at your house or some other system away, it takes longer. What do you guys think about that? 15 minutes for a 3-man bed too.
The system has to know that you actually died. Otherwise, you're running around.
I agree. I'm listening. Yeah. The farther away you are, it should be shorter. Togi said the farther away, it should be shorter. But see, this gets into what's real. I mean, this gets into what's real. I mean, is that an issue? You guys, there's some lore things to this, and Paul just did this with this regen video he talked about. He says that there is something that prevents people that, in other words, when you're alive, you cannot respawn your clone. It causes a problem with that. Right? There's something about the system that knows that you're still alive. And because of that, it will not create your clone, right? But on a gaming side, this is where it gets funny. On a gaming side, gamers don't want to wait 15, 20 minutes when they die, to your point. So what's the break in that? Because right now you die and you wake up in the hospital and it's, you're up. Do you think that that's the penalty? Or should the penalty be the fact that you've lost a life? That's your penalty, not the time thing.
Both. I mean, I think if you're reckless, you should be penalized for being reckless. If you're
What's reckless? What's reckless? I got blown up by accident. Yeah, how do you determine reckless if I got blown up just because I was landing somewhere?
Also, how do you account for how do you account for if your game crash and that caused you to die?
Well, game crash in the system will know if your system crashed. The game will know that. Just like a 30K, it knows if you crash, right? But let's say that you're just landing somewhere to deliver some freight and you get blown up out of the sky. Now, there was some issues that CIG talked about frequency of death. They talked about some things with that, especially when it came down to claiming ships. But there are already people who feel like stuff is a time sink. So if you start telling people, well, you got to wait 15 minutes, and they can't play their game anymore. There are going to be some people going to be freaking out with the pitchforks and torches, I think.
I know.
Yeah. It's an interesting
we'll
idea.
see.
It's an interesting idea. Let's talk about we talked about industry and recovery. Let's talk about insurance. You talked about the fact that in the early doc, it talked about being able to buy an additional life.
Right.
There is we have insurance companies when we go into the lobbies of the hospitals. Olympic is there, or I think it's Olympic or Olympus, whatever it's called, the insurance place that you go to where you set your spawn. But how will that work? Will there be this thing where people can pay for like certain types of injuries? Like we know that CIG at one point showed us about having cybernetic limbs and arms. If you lose an arm or a limb, is that going to be something where that's what you have to do is pay for things like that? Is that what they're looking to do maybe in the future still, you think? Because they showed us.
I think like if you have a low tier insurance, you'll get a cybernetic limb. If you have a high tier insurance, you'll get a replacement biological limb. But it depends.
You think that's what the case is? Really?
It may depend on what tier insurance you have and where you get the service done. If you get the service done at Corporate Hurston, you'll get a limb. If you get the service done at New Babbitt or Orison, you get a replacement limb. But
those are both good. Those places have good hospitals. I thought you were going to say like Grimhex or something. Grimhex has got the bloody hospital.
That's true. Or like Pyro. Pyro will give you an artificial limb.
They give you a peg.
You know what I mean?
They give you a peg or a hook, and that'll be it, right? I don't know. Let's see.
Hey, as long as it articulate, they'll send you off and say, thanks for your money.
Yeah. Almost over said a tier 0 injury, it has to be amputated, right? That would be interesting, too. People who have just amputated limbs. And the question is, like, is this something that insurance covers, right? I don't know if insurance, how will they do that? I'm assuming that maybe insurance will cover it versus just buying it outright.
I'm guessing they will.
Yeah,
I'm guessing they
versus
will.
buying it outright. I don't know. Some people say that's a money sink too, so we'll have to see. I want a cybernomic limb with a blade missile launcher on it. Okay, yeah, right.
Everything's a money sink.
See,
That's the name of the game.
It seems like a lot of Star Citizen players just don't care about the sinks, and it's the people that don't play the game. Yeah, they're different people. Some people feel it sinks, some people feel it adds to the game, right? Grimhex steals kidneys. Okay, thanks. Jones. Warsheep says, my take on it is that regen shouldn't be a thing at all. If you die in an assault, you get in a random limb replaced with a potato and go back to your last safe location. However, I think dying as such shouldn't be as easy either. Like you get downed, but have a timer like now that you can be healed up on a bed. Okay. It's different. We'll see. It's a different perspective. All right, listen, we need to take a commercial break, I think. We got a long way to go. We haven't gotten anywhere near the commercial here.
We're gonna get to the conversation.
Yeah, we got to take our commercial break, gang. So give us a minute. We're going to be right back, and we're going to try and speed up things. We're having too much fun talking about this subject. So we'll be right back. Just hang in there with us. Okay, if you are watching us, that means you are a supporter and a subscriber to our Twitch channel, and we want to say thank you for your support as always. We hope you're enjoying our conversation. We've been talking way too long, Fastcart. I got to speed up. That's on me because I've been asking you a million questions. But thank you guys for being here. Just to let you know, next Sunday is Father's Day here in the U.S., and I'm not sure if that's global or not, but I know in the U.S. it's Father's Day, and so we're going to be off next week, but we are having a virtual Bar Citizen on Saturday, the day before, because it's going to be International Bar Citizen Weekend. So we're going to be putting up some stuff at the end of the week. There's going to be some QR codes. It's going to be on Google Chat, Google Meet this time instead of Zoom. So you don't have to do any registration. All you have to do is just scan the barcode or the QR code, and you can just show up. And it's going to be Saturday from 12 noon Eastern till 3 p.m. Eastern, and it is free, and you guys can come hang out with us just for 3 hours. It's not going to be the long one because we want to take a rest next weekend too. So hopefully you guys will be able to join us for that. Okay. All right. We are back. We are back. Thank you guys for
Also, today and tomorrow, or no, we got two more days before the prices go up for Quantum Vegas, the ticket price. They're currently $99, but they go up to $125 on the 11th. So you have until June 10th to get it at the low price of $99.
Yep. And we're going to be bringing a little ad here and talk about that a little bit later. So when we get back, we'll cover that for you guys. I wasn't expecting Fastcart to throw it out there for me because I wasn't prepared, but we got it out there. So cool. All right, let's get to our next. We're going to speed
good,
through.
Griff. I trusted you.
We're going to speed. Yeah, we're going to speed through some of these other ones. Okay, we just did medical, right? So let's skip. I'm going to skip that one.
Okay.
Actually, I don't want to skip it. I'm just going to say this real quick. Ground vehicles need love.
We can do this quickly.
Yeah, ground vehicles need love, right?
They do.
They've been in the game for a very long time. There are times when they're almost there with some of them, and then it just seems like one step forward, two steps back. And this has been like forever. And the feel of them just isn't there. Now, this is where we start talking about feel again, right? You know, we're playing a game, but there is a sense of weight balance, capability that often gets lost with some of these vehicles, especially things like the tanks. You know, there's just a lot of things that just don't feel right about these. And then the other thing is that we've been waiting for CIG to introduce. Yeah, Togi, that's the one I was going to skip. Yeah, I was thinking about you. Okay. The other thing is that we've been waiting a very long time now on the idea of roads. And now that CIG has introduced these pieces with dynamic weather in these locations, I'm hoping that the next thing that starts to happen is that they start putting in roads for these distribution centers in these new locations, because there are people who want to park a distant way out and drive in, right? Whether by bike, motorcycle, four-wheeled vehicle, whatever. And we're not able to do that just yet. So, and I know you're looking forward to like what's the bike called that you're interested in? The one, the two-wheeler? The Rangers, right?
Ranger, because I want my Akira moment.
Yeah.
The people who don't know what Akira is, it's a 1980s movie, but there's a cool slide that they can do. And well, actually, you could say the second Batman with Christopher Nolan, where he had the Bat Pod do a turn into a motorcycle. That was cool too.
Okay. Yeah, I personally want I don't want roads just for the sake of roads. I want roads because there's reasons for them. I mean, the weather thing is a cool thing. Remember the presentation we saw? What year was that? 2017, 18, where they landed and they couldn't land in the area where they had the sandstorm with the worm. And remember, they had to land. Yeah, had to learn and then drive in on the. They drove in on the tumbrel.
I think that was 17.
That was 16, actually. Wherever the sandworm came out, 16 or 17.
The sandworm was 16.
It was 16. So they drove in on the tumbler. The tumbler got blown up, and then he got on the yellow jacket or the dragonfly and rode in. But I would love to have scenarios like that. But I also would like so that these facilities, as they've gotten bigger, that when you want to move something from one location to another, the option to fly them is just not there. So you really have to get into a vehicle or bring vehicles with you so that you can transport things. Just not there yet. But I definitely want vehicles to get some love because a lot of people have them. I've got some, and we want to put them to use. You know, they're great, but they just don't feel.
And speaking of realism, how real your driving experience to be in the game? Because you got like a full-on racing sim that's driving realistic, but then you had your arcade experience, which is like Forza or Need for Speed or whatnot. So where in between do you want that to be?
This is tough. I'm gonna, since we're talking about speed and things moving, and we're gonna get into this when we get into space travel and some other things. There is this question about time and time sinking and what's real. Now, a lot of times don't get me wrong, there are plenty of times when I'm playing Star Citizen and I'm running full speed to get somewhere, right? Because I'm trying to hurry up and do something. But there are other times when I actually like not moving at that speed. Some of us play this game called Mortal Online 2. And in Mortal Online 2, running in that game is like running in real life. There is no speed running. There is no quickly animated running thing. You literally can only move as fast as normal walking or normal running in the game. And it takes a little bit to get used to that because sometimes you're used to being able in most games to run and get away from things. But in this game, if a wolf comes after you, there's only so long you're going to be able to run before you get caught. If someone's on a horse, there's only so long you can run from getting from them. I actually like that, but that puts it way more toward simulation and real. And I wonder whether or not people in Star Citizen would not like that. Either because, one, they're used to the speed that we have where you can just run at almost an animated speed, or whether or not they will feel it's time sinkish. You know, Go Mob. Hey, buddy. Thank you so much for the
Hey, thank you, Go
sub.
Mob.
54 months.
54 months.
Appreciate
Dang,
you.
that's a lot of money.
Yeah, you're a veteran. You're an old dinosaur. Been around a long time. I don't know. How do you feel about that? Do you think that the running should be pulled back some, or do you think that because of time and because the universe is so big, having speeds like what they are right now, just to get from your hab or and later we know that people aren't going to be running from their habs all the time. The idea is to be on your ship already and stuff like that. But what do you think? These cities are big.
I'm okay. I'm okay with how the running is now because I like how they have different armor make you run a different speed or make you and affect you and like with heavy armor you have to eat and drink more often. With lighter armor or flight suit, you don't have to do that as much. So I like the way that is, and they could tweak it here and there, but I'm comfortable with how the gameplay is currently.
Okay.
As far as that concern.
Okay. All right. We're going to move on.
You?
I'm going to stop there because like I said, we could talk about that forever. Ship design. Ship design. What we mean by this is this, guys. There are some people who approach the ships in Star Citizen and say that wouldn't fly. Okay, it just wouldn't fly. There are other people who say, yeah, it would. Blah 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 blah. There are some people who say that the ships look they are still World War II-ish. They're very contemporary to designs we have now. There are other people who say none of these ships like they would exist 900 years in the future. The designs don't look a certain way, or they look too much like the way things are now. Fastcart, give me your thoughts about ship design. How real? And real is really tough to ask because real now thinking and real 900 years from now could be two different things, right? Because sometimes we're playing with people and they'll say, oh, I should be able to do this, or and I'm like 900 years from now, we should be able to do so and so. But is that true? I mean, not that it's not true, but what's the impact of making this game be what you could do 900 years from now to you?
I mean, first of all, I want to say, like, in the future, you can put thrusters on almost anything. You can make anything. You should be able to make anything fly as long as you give it enough power and enough fuel.
Okay.
In my opinion.
Okay.
So that's my feeling about that.
Okay.
Whether or not something can fly well in the air, that's another thing.
Mm-hmm.
But anything can fly in space as long as you put thrusters and fuel on it. In my opinion. So, but to your question, yeah, I mean, some of these ships. I do have some issues with, but I wouldn't say I'm going to quit the game or they could change it because I have issue with it. Just it's just a personal preference for me.
How do you feel about CIG has talked about these certain ships that, like, right now they're really dealing with this issue of, like, people have been taking, like, the Idris down and doing missions with them, right? I mean, I saw people taking Idris. Listen, y'all, I'm not throwing no shade at you. When I say this, it's going to sound like I'm throwing shade. People have been taking Idrises down to bunkers to do bunker missions, okay? Like, they're blowing up the turrets, right? Okay. All right. Is that realistic? I mean, is that it's fun for some people. For some people, it's tremendously immersion breaking. And don't get me wrong, we're in a testing environment. So testing allows people to do all types of crazy stuff too, right?
Right.
So, but let's say we move beyond the testing point. And now we're at the point of what the game should be like. What do you think? The CIG's talked about if you want to take a ship like an Idris into a planet, that it will be costly in the sense of fuel, wear on your ship. Are there risk factors to entering atmosphere? If your ship goes down one way but is loaded up with other stuff, will you have difficulty even getting out of certain atmospheres because of certain gravities? Is that making it too real? Is that making it too real? Or should I be able to take my Polaris down? Should I be able to take my Idris down? We know the Javelin isn't designed to go down, right? Unless it's shot down. What are your thoughts?
I'm going to be honest. I'm gonna feel some sympathy for people who paid all this money for the big stuff and won't be able to get them where they want to go in the future.
Yeah,
because I don't want to say it's not their fault, but they have a false sense of expectation when it comes to what 1.0 may be like. So, because like I said, this is a testing environment. The things we can do now, we may not be able to do in the future. You pay $1,000 or $3,000 for a ship. the things you can do now, it's tough because I do have sympathy for the people, but I mean, you're going to need a lot of fuel. You should require a lot of fuel, and sometimes, depending on the planet gravity, you should not be able to get that ship off the ground. I mean, it is not in a few years in the future, but at some point, there's the equilibrium where too much is too much, in my opinion.
I remember back when the 890 first came out, and you would fly the 890, and this wasn't any balance or anything in it, but they would fly it, and if you flew it in atmosphere like maybe 2 times or 3 times, you would burn out of fuel. In space, it was fine, but you might go up and down 4 times at the max, and that was it. You had to refuel, or else you'd run out of fuel. And there were people that were hollering about it. They were like, I'm running out of fuel too fast. And my attitude was, y'all know anything about yachts and stuff? I mean, that's nothing but a gas guzzler. It is not a fuel efficient ship. It is not. And taking a ship out like that, I'm not saying it should only go up 2 or 4 times. What I am saying is that you better have the wallet to pay for fuel for a ship like an 890. It is not flying an Andromeda. You know what I'm saying when it comes to fuel efficiency. So whenever they balance that, to me, that would be my expectation, that it is going to cost me money if I decide to land that ship down on a planet's surface, right, with atmosphere in particular. Now, are there certain ships that you feel should remain orbital? Like the Hull C remains orbital, Javelin remains orbital. Should an Idris or even a Polaris remain orbital? Or should they be able to go into atmosphere? I'm just asking.
I don't know about the Polaris, but maybe the Idris, yeah. And people, Lord of Drip asked me about the BMM. I'm planning to keep the BMM in space. Or if I know it's a low gravity moon or low gravity planet, maybe. But yeah, it's gonna be in space. And same for Screen Endeavor, because the Endeavor had the compartment that detaches, that has its own engine and stuff like that. You can take that down to the planet and stuff like that. I don't know how much cargo you can take, but yeah, the main part of the Endeavor that'll be in space for me.
Yeah, I think the Polaris is like the biggest thing I would want to see down on a planet for me. I think the Idris should be an orbital ship. The whole purpose of us being able to shuttle, there's a different type of gameplay that you introduce into a game when you're moving from orbit down to a planet, whether that's moving freight or moving people or moving ships. Now, I know there are people who not going to like that. I know y'all don't like that, but I'm just telling you.
How do you?
Because
how do you respond to people
you know what it does? You know what it does? It makes them become multi-crew ships. That's what it does. It really makes them become a multi-crew ship to me. Now, right now, people can do whatever they want to do, and I have no control over it. I'm just saying there's a certain scale of ship to me. Unless you go down to a moon or a surface that doesn't have gravity, then yeah, if you want to take it down there, I'm fine with that. But if you're going into like a Hurston or someplace with atmosphere and gravity, you should
don't go down to Orson.
Yeah,
do not go down to Orson.
You can go to Orson, just don't go down too far in Orson.
Yeah, remember when Orson first appeared?
Yeah,
people had trouble getting off Orson.
Well, they didn't have trouble. It just took a long time to get out because of the atmosphere. Yeah, but anyway, I just think that some of these ships like the Auroras, when you look at them, they don't look flight worthy. And I agree with you, Fastcart. You can say that 900 years from now, yes, they could make a ship that looks like a brick fly. Right. But there's also the question about the internals, right? The argument of, 900 years from now, you wouldn't have all these switches and dials, right? That's true. But what about for gameplay reasons? Is that there for gameplay? Or because not to be funny, y'all, I picture a ship 900 years from now, me talking to it. And that's it.
Yeah.
There's no gameplay in that. It's just get in the ship and say, this is where I want to go, and go back in the back and drink a martini until I get there. What's the gameplay?
I think there'll be 2 versions. People who like the hands-on experience with a joystick, and people who like you who want to talk.
No. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not talking about in the game. I'm saying 900 years from now, it's going to be automated.
No, that's what I'm saying. In the future, I think there'll still be people who want the hands-on experience, like a racer.
Maybe.
You don't think so?
Maybe.
All right.
I don't know. I think we have a tendency to go the path of least resistance, and I think that if automation became that commonplace, then people would just Now, mind you, there are some people that never use cruise control in their car. You know what I'm saying? They never use it, even though they have it in there. There are people who still like to, hold the wheel and everything else.
That's
right?
the people who drive manual.
Yeah, right. True.
Yeah.
True. Yeah, it's true. That's true. To me, it just would be interesting because when people say, well, we wouldn't be doing that 900 years in the future, I'm like, there's a lot of stuff we wouldn't be doing 900 years. We wouldn't be doing the fighting the way we do 900 years in the future. Like right now, we're taking less and less of human life being a casualty in battles. So I have difficulty with what's real at this point when it comes to those type of topics. Let's talk about currency. CIG just recently introduced a new form of currency called scripts, right?
Yep.
How are you feeling about that? Chooch, thank you so much for the 500 bits. We appreciate that. Thank you. How do you feel about the new currency being introduced now? I know it's not balanced. I know it's not that, y'all. We understand that mercenary bits and this bits and that. We get that. But how do you feel about them introducing something other than AUEC or UEC into the game?
Yeah. When it first came out, I was like, yeah. Come on, CIG. Don't make this into like one of those gotcha games that has like 10 different currencies that you can only spend on a certain item depending on what currency you have. I'm okay with just a few currencies. If you go much further than this, I may have issues with it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine with the script for now.
Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty much feel the same way. I like the fact that there are a few. I don't want to have a zillion one for every culture and every race.
Right.
But I would. How many
too many for you?
But I would. Well, here's what I'm saying. Like, if we're dealing with the Xi'an, right? Like, does UEE money mean anything to them? Like one thing I like about what they've done with Wicklow is that he doesn't ask for currency. He's asking for things that are in relation to their culture, which is trade, right? So items and stuff are important to him. And supposedly he takes those items and uses them to manufacture. So that within the context of that culture and the lore, I get it. But my question becomes, what happens when we deal with the Xi'an or when we're dealing with Tavarin? Are they going to respect the UEE, denomination of money?
Tavarin will.
Okay. I don't know. I'm just asking. Because, there's hardcore Tavarans that don't want to be a part of the UEE.
Okay.
So
most Tavarin will.
Yeah, most will. Most will.
Yeah.
But I do like the idea of there being something that has value that's outside of the UEE. Like we talked about this before. What about people who live in Nix, who are separatists from the UEE, right? They don't want to have anything to do with the UEE, but you're forcing them to use UEE currency in their economy. Will they have their own economy that they use? Maybe it's gold. Maybe it's some other item. You see what I'm saying? I'm just saying, will they continue that lore across the board where UEE currency satisfies everybody in the universe? And we're seeing now that's not the case with Wicklow, right?
I think Next will have UEC or AUEC because they're mostly human based. But when it comes to aliens,
whoa, what's human based? What's human based got to do with their culture? They are not for the UEE.
They're human, though.
What's that got to do with anything?
They got to deal with other humans, so they got to.
They deal with their own people. They deal with their own people. Why can't they have their own currency? Why would you? I'm just picking a random thing. I don't live in Mexico, but I'm not trading pesos. I trade with the money that I got to do with the people I'm with, right? So, and my point of saying that is because one of the things that we have in the game, and some of you all may have noticed this, we have these currency machines. Have you ever noticed that there are currency machines throughout the game? You didn't notice that. There are currency stations throughout the game. And I've always wondered, why do we have currency machines, right? And are those machines there for other purposes, right? Like an exchange type of thing, right? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know, y'all. I'm just asking. Yeah, I don't want 10 different currencies either. I'm just saying, how real do you want it? And I'm saying that breaks immersion for me for Nix. That breaks it for Nix. Nix breaks it for me. If Nix ain't got nothing to do with the UEE, I don't see why they would be using UEE money. That's just me.
So, all right. For me, Plague Dealer said that they want 10. They do not want 10 different currencies.
Yep.
I'm saying 5 max. Once you get past 5, that's too much to keep track of.
Okay.
In my opinion,
I'll take 4. I'll take one less than that even. I'm just saying I do like the fact that it will challenge us a little bit differently. That's all. You know, listen, y'all. I ain't trying to be easy, y'all. I'm trying to make this game be a little bit more deeper than some stuff that we have out here today. All right, that's it on currency.
I prefer easy. I'm easy like Sunday morning. Okay?
Yeah,
People won't get that reference.
Okay, looting. This one has been an up and down kind of thing. CIG just recently, or this year, changed the looting profile, where that looting now is where you can only loot items that are. If it's an NPC, you can loot them. You can take their weapons. You can take their ammo, things of that nature. You can even take their armor. But if it's a player, you can only loot what is inside of their backpack. You cannot take their rifle, their gun, if it's on them. And you cannot take their armor. Now, CIG, when they introduced this, they said that this was a tier 0 and that there's going to be some future changes coming to looting. We just don't know what those changes are. This also there was some byproduct to this. One of the byproducts was that people could no longer in PvP situations take someone's armor. And it's not always about taking someone's armor because, ooh, I want your armor. Sometimes it's because maybe I don't have armor, or there's a weapon you have that I would prefer it's a better weapon. And I want to take that weapon for that reason, right? That has kind of disappeared. If it's not in their backpack, and they got a really nice weapon. I'm not talking about subscriber. I'm just talking about just a better weapon. But but one thing that has happened is that you see people who are now playing and using items that they previously, for many years did not play with, right? But the negative to that is that there's a certain false security to it because nobody can take it from you, which also removes a level of risk. So there's another problem. So that doesn't fix the situation. People who have those unique items like subscriber items just said, hey, we would like to have a way, if we lose them, to recover them, to get them back, right? And CIG has not created that avenue for us yet, right? So this doesn't really satisfy. I said yet. And so this doesn't satisfy the problem for either side, for the looting person and for the person who has that special weapon that they would like to be able to have, but there's still some element of losing and risk. We don't want to take that risk factor away, right? You do want to feel like when you're picking up weapons, I've done this before. I may only have 2 P6s, right? It's the only 2 I've got. I have spent that time saying, do I really want to take this on this mission? Or I've got 6 AO3s. I'll take that instead, right? Because if I lose one of those, no big deal, right? So I think that should be a factor in the gaming, but we have to see how CIG does with looting. Are you a loot goblin, or are you pretty much like whatever you got on you, you're pretty satisfied?
Well, whatever I got on, I'm pretty satisfied. I like the color red. I have the red alert set. I've been wearing that to everything changed. I was not wearing that before. I mean, I'm not a PvP person, so I tend not to get involved in those situations where I may lose my armor if the system was not in place. If the system were not in place, I still would not be wearing my subscriber stuff or my red alert stuff. That's how I play. So I really like the current change, but I know I'm not really a majority. Some people have issues with it, and I understand that, but.
If you could get your stuff back, if you could get your stuff back, if you lose it, would you be okay?
Yeah.
Okay. You would still wear it?
And it depends on how long it takes. If it's like instantaneous, like it is, like it is for respawning, I'll be cool with that. If it takes like half hour, that may be a little bit too long for me. 15 minutes will probably be the longest.
So you wouldn't just put on some other armor. You just wouldn't put on the same armor of a different color. You just say, "Oh, I can't get my red armor. I'm not going outside." Is that what you're saying?
I would. But I mean, if I have a favorite set and it had my stuff in it, I would want that stuff back as soon as possible.
Okay. All right.
That's me.
All right. Fair enough. All right.
But I mean, or what I could do, I just have multiple copies of the stuff that I want and put it in different armor. That would be the smart thing to do.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. We kind of touched on this a little bit with ship design earlier. We were talking about travel and atmospheric travel. I was with somebody last week. I think it was Togi, in fact. He was flying an Aegis Avenger. And okay. I just recently reclaimed one last year that I had in my hangar forever. I had some credit and I got it. Was it credit? I think I got credit. It was in my buyback.
Okay.
And I hadn't flown it. Well, that was the very first ship I ever bought, was an Avenger. So I was like kind of feeling
really? Okay.
feeling nostalgic. So I got it out.
Right.
And,
right.
But I've flown it so much that I never did really look at the outside. I never went exterior while I was flying it. Well, Togi was flying it, and then he said, "Hey, Griff, look." And I didn't realize it. He showed me that the ailerons on the ship work now, right? The flaps.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And someone said, no, they've been working for a little while. I had not seen it. But
I have not touched an Avenger. I have not seen an Avenger.
Mm-hmm. But that was one of the few ships with wings, and maybe somebody in chat knows. Is that the only ship that has control surfaces? That's what we call them. That work. Because we know CIG has been talking about implementing atmospheric flight and having some impact in that. Now, right now, they don't do anything. But I am curious that with dynamic weather starting at tier 0 now and coming in with this is tier probably 1 because we had the fake weather that popped in with the snow and stuff. But now we've got this dynamic weather. The Gladius does. Okay, thank you, PPP. The introduction of that will bring a new dynamic to flying in atmosphere. And this does start lend itself to those ships that have control surfaces having better control, right? Landing, flying, taking off versus ships like the Aurora that don't have those control surfaces. It'll be interesting. Ships like the Reclaimer, these big boxy things that are designed differently. I'm actually looking forward to what CIG talked about how when we fly in atmosphere, certain ships will have a little bit more difficulty than other ships.
Right.
They also hinted. Remember, they hinted about the SRV. Remember that about those ships helping ships.
Yeah, and the bigger your ship, you may need more than one SRV to get you out of wherever you're trying to get out of.
Yeah. I did one time. I was with somebody. I was Admiral Kusanagi. We tried to use 2 SRVs to lift a Reclaimer up. We couldn't get it off the ground. We could get it to move, but we needed like a third one, right? Or a fourth one to get it off the ground. But it is doable. It is possible. But we'll have to try that with multiple. We have to do that one day, like get maybe 4 SRVs and see whether or not we can actually pull some of these larger ships and get them out of atmosphere together, because it'd be really interesting to see if that's possible.
Random question. How many people have an SRV?
Quite a few.
Quite a few? Okay.
Yeah, Vavrick's got one. It's 2 or 3 people in our group. Yeah,
I don't have one. I being a toaster driver didn't appeal to me. So
yeah, well, Pops and them, Pops and Fist are into that. You're into trade. Yeah. You're into trade more than the industrial side of stuff.
Right.
All right, we're gonna come on. Goldmob says he's got one. Yeah, CC Creator's got one. There you go. So, all right, let's talk about this one. Let's talk about the realities of travel in space.
Oh boy.
This is where we need Jade. I'm sorry Jade's not on this show today. Jade's been out traveling and doing some stuff. She's on leave. We miss her. But that's our in-house scientist that we have. But I'm going to focus in on some more practical sides about this. Part of Star Citizens thing is this idea of feeling like we're really doing things, immersion, right? Those are but not just flipping switches, but the fact that we feel like we're literally within that world, right? Doing something. Mm-hmm. But space travel is not fun. It is very tedious. It's traveling to the moon or traveling to Mars takes time, right? And in our game, it's all accelerated. It's super accelerated, in fact, to do what we want to do. But there are some people who feel like the time that we're spending now or may spend in the future may be what they call a time sink. And they feel like they want faster times. Now, you were around back when we first got Hurston. And you may remember that when we used to fly from Port Olisar, right, a Crusader, to Hurston, the average time was somewhere between 12 to 15 minutes, depending on what quantum drive you had in your ship. Now it's like 3 minutes, 2 minutes.
Yeah, you
right?
Get up, make a sandwich, come back, eat it, get another sandwich.
Right. When we got the trams for the first time in Hurston, do you remember we used to literally wait almost 4 to 5 minutes for a tram to come?
Yeah, there was 5 minutes, yes.
Yeah, and now you're waiting 45 seconds, a minute and a half, depending, maybe, something like that, right? So my feeling has always been that as CIG expands the universe, we're going to see times compressed based upon scale, right? In the beginning, it was 5 minutes. Then we start realizing we start bringing those times. I know from ArcCorp, for me to get from my bed in ArcCorp to the spaceport takes less than 3 minutes. If I'm it takes me less than 3 minutes. Some people feel like it takes a long time. It doesn't. It takes like 2 minutes and 38 or 48 seconds to get from the hab over to the spaceport, right? Now, if you want to mess around and do some other stuff, that's different. But I'm just saying, people feel like it's a lot of time, and it's really not a lot of time, depending on where you are leaving. I think the most time is like 3 minutes and something to get from anybody's hab to a thing. So when it comes to traveling across space, I remember when they first put in the jump points in Stanton, and Colossal and Nihilus and I were on Colossal's Starfarer, and we went from Magnus to the Terra Gate. It took us 30 minutes to do that. My question to you is that too long to cross the system? That's literally crossing Stanton. It was 30 minutes. Now, in most cases, people aren't going to be crossing systems. But in that particular case, we crossed the system. What are your thoughts?
I'm of two minds about this. I know some people are working or have kids and may not have time, but this is Chris Roberts' dream. He wants stuff to take time. See, people who may not know me, I when I was on Eve, I would spend like 8 hours mining, so I'm okay with them taking time. But I know some others who have a job and a life and stuff like that, that may be too much. So, I mean, I think people have to come in, like when they do reviews of Star Citizen, I hope people say how much time certain aspects of the game take, and be accurate about it, because I think that'll temper some people's expectations about how playing Star Citizen will be, and hopefully people won't be disappointed when they actually get into the game and it takes longer than they expect. Having said that, yeah, I'm okay with it. I think a half hour to get across the system can feel long, but hopefully, like, you're not in a single seater. And you're with other people. You can do other activities, like the MSR had a chessboard. You can play chess.
All right.
On the MSR.
So here's my question: is time travel gameplay or a waste of time? Is space travel gameplay, or is it a waste of time?
Gameplay, in my opinion, but to other people, it could be a waste of time. But in my opinion, it's gameplay.
How is it gameplay?
I mean, because you're taking the quantum drive and you're using fuel, and the fuel that you spend quantuming, you have to replace. You have to another. It's not a time system. It's a money thing. So you got to replace that fuel. And the longer you travel, the more fuel you use.
Okay, but you're dealing with the resource side of it. I'm dealing with the time side of it. How is time gameplay?
How is time gameplay? I'm not sure how to answer that question. And I understand what you're asking. Yeah, I'm not sure how to answer that question.
See, I think it's and don't get me wrong. I'm asking it because I'm asking it to challenge ourselves to, is it gameplay? Right? I'm not saying whether it is or isn't. Guys, please forgive me if I know some people say, well, Griff, you're retired. It's not because I'm retired that I'm saying this. Time has always been a factor in games. Time was an issue 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. So time, when people start talking about, oh, we got stuff to do. Well, people had families 30 years ago and kids 30 years ago, and they had a job 30 years ago. So that goes out the window for me, y'all. Okay. Priorities are a factor. I'll grant you that. And not everyone may have the time. That's a reality. Some people just may not have the time to do certain things, and I want to be respectful of that. I'm curious to see how CIG will balance that out. Now, let's give you an example. People who played Elite Dangerous, when they decide to say, we're going to go to Sol, the system, or whatever, some of these people take literally weeks to travel to a destination in Elite. Because that's the understanding. It's a one-to-one galaxy. And you kind of know that when you step into that world, There ain't going to be no fast travel. You're going to have to jump multiple systems. And there's going to be times when you're just sitting in your jump speed to get to the next point to get somewhere. And they embrace that. Now, I'm not saying it's for everybody, because that ain't for everybody. You know what I'm saying?
It ain't. Yeah,
it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. And so my question becomes, will Star Citizen kind of be that? That I'm not saying they're going to be that. We're not a one-to-one system, right? We know that. But is it going to be a situation where time is a part of gameplay? It is a part. It's not gameplay, but it is a part of gameplay. Now, I think CIG is trying to do some things that are going to help us with that. Like they talked about, when you go out and do some things, you may be repairing your ship, or you may be fixing your weapons, or doing some things while, so that makes time pass and you feel like you're doing something productive, right? That could be a factor, right? There's a social dynamic. When the three of us were on that Starfare crossing from one system to another, me and Nihilus were back there talking. We were messing with Colossal, and before you knew it, we were approaching the Terra Gate, right? It didn't feel like 30 minutes. Right.
Not everyone's going to have a Colossal to mess with, so that'll make time fly for everybody.
But I was going to tell you, there's a big difference between if I was doing that by myself, right, versus when I've got 2 or 3 people on the ship with me that are helping time pass by. And everybody is not going to be in that scenario. There are times when you're playing by yourself and you may want to do that type of thing. So I'm just curious as to how it will balance out in the long run. I don't know what the answer will be. Pyro got reduced from 13.5 AU down to 9.5. And it is not a killer to cross Pyro. You know, it's a decent amount of time, but it doesn't feel like it's weighing about. But there are some systems that are bigger than Pyro. Instead of 9.5, they're 15 AU or 20 AU or even 100 AU. And I'm curious to see how we will respond to that. Will we move across systems in portions? Or because we realize it takes time to cross. If you start making those 100 AU systems smaller, that means it's going to take seconds to cross systems that are only 10 AU. And to me, that changes it a lot. Mm-hmm.
For me, I'm curious about how big they make the control system in game. Because, you know, it's 93 AU between Earth and the Sun. Mm-hmm. How would they sprint that or whatever? When they actually put that in game, that'd be interesting.
Yeah. Zodicide says, "Are we there yet?" Yeah, that's pretty much the answer, right? That's pretty much what people are going to be saying is, "Are we there yet?" All right, we got a couple more to knock out here. Let's go ahead and keep moving forward here. Beams and lasers, lasers. Yeah, you know, it was really interesting. I was a little bit thrown off with what the big deal was about beams and lasers. And maybe it's because people's vision of doing things, they've kind of pictured how they want certain things to work, and a beam was not the way that they thought it would happen. Is that kind of where it comes from?
No. For me, I think it's because they use beams for almost everything in this game. I mean,
like what?
Yeah,
tractor
beam,
medical beam. Makes sense.
Yeah, medical beams. Yeah, that's gamified. Someone inject you with something that makes sense. Yep. Someone shooting you with a green beam to heal you. That's a bit much.
Okay, so that's gamey, but the med pins is more realistic to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Makes sense.
I'm just asking. I ain't saying whether it makes sense or not.
The thing is, the thing I do like, I do like the boat weapons. The electrical one. Those are game, but those are cool.
Okay, those are gamey but cool. Okay, all right. Yeah, I wish that the med gun was more of a hands-on type of animation, and maybe that's part of the problem. I know when we use the med pin and we stab someone with it, or we can do it. It's not that bad of an animation. It looks kind of clunky when you do it, but it works. The med gun, I do kind of have mixed feelings about that. The med gun gives you, I don't know. We'll have to see where else they go with the whole medical thing with that. To me, you know,
I want to address something. Adam Kuchnagi said med pins are real or more real. LMAO. The thing is, I grew up with the idea of med pins because of Star Trek. From TOS, the hydros.
The problem with Admiral's talking about is that the way you use it is not realistic in the game. You know, I can't hit through somebody's armor with a med pin and inject them with something.
Okay.
It's not real from that perspective. So, you know, that's
I'm doing it in between the joint. That's what I'm doing. I'm
is that
in
what it
between the
is?
joints.
Is that what it is? Okay. And we'll all grant the fact that that is a medical thing to do. Like, you know, if you were going to do it, you had to take off their core armor and hit them with it, or take off their arm armor. It would be, that would get into a whole nother level of gameplay that I don't think anybody would want to do. But I will agree with you. I like the med gun, but it is definitely, that's where we're creating the fiction part of it, right? Shooting some medicine through the air and it goes into your body, right?
I mean, and the
armor should have injection points.
Gamey, but we do need it to move stuff around.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're gonna put it on a trolley and push it everywhere you want to go. I don't know.
Yeah. You know what, Go Mob? It's really interesting. They've talked about what flight suits are supposed to have a whole lot more mechanics to them, and I'm curious to see how if those mechanics will ever come into the game. Everything from wear and breakdown to access and some other things that they've talked about in the past, but that was all, you know, all stuff that was getting thrown on the wall, spaghetti thrown on the wall. But I don't know, we'll see. The lasers and beams, I know you said the new weapons like the Volt, and some of those new weapons are actually, they're more cool and they're interesting in a science fiction arena, right? Well, I'm not going to get into the science of them, but you know, it's part of I'm saying it's part of science fiction history. It's a familiar thing, right? So people can they can suck it in, even if it's fantasy. They can still suck it in. We'll get into the realism side of that. Let's talk about this one: technology and futurism. This is a huge argument. How do you balance out the argument the conversation we were having earlier about, well, 900 years from now we wouldn't be, or 900 years from now we would be? How do you deal with that in relation to Star Citizen? Because there are people, for example, something as simple as air combat or flight combat is an issue. Chris Roberts says, I want people to be able to come in close and see the ship and lock on, blah, 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 right? And there are other people who'd be like, okay, that's great because it looks pretty, or it's nice that you want to look at the ships, but that's not how combat would probably be. The other people will say, 900 years from now, we wouldn't even see the other enemy. You just fire from way back away and take them out. I mean, there's all types of stuff that people theorize about what the future would be like, right? And then how do you balance that with what makes a game fun or challenging, right? So how do you balance that? I mean, do you think that...
I'm glad I'm not a... Go ahead.
Do you think that CIG has done that by creating ships like the Drakes, which are very mechanical, manufactured? You know, when you get on the elevator on a Drake, there's literally levers on the freaking Corsair, right? There's a big red knob. There's the mechanical sounds. Then you get on other ships like a 400i where everything is touch screen, you know, and holographic. Do you think that creates the compromise for the technology? Because there could be cultures and groups that are much more. This came up when they first showed us stuff in Pyro. There were people who were saying, well, why do you have places that have like grain bowls and wheats, like as if they're rural, right? In this quote unquote futuristic setting, right? Could that be because different evolutions of people or cultures or societies, so that you can have real fancy stuff, but stuff that, not fancy, but futuristic stuff, and still have stuff that's very common in some culture, in some areas of the game? Because I don't know how far you push future. I mean, how far do you push technology in a game like this? 900 years in the future. I don't know,
Griff. I was going to say I'm not a game designer, so I don't have to think about this stuff. But it's a cool thought experiment. When it comes to the flight thing, like I get what Chris is saying, but I mean, I got used to jousting. It was the way that things have been for years, and I know that's not how things he wanted it. So I have to get used to the new way of combat. But how far do you push things? That's a tough question. It depends on the situation. Depends on the aspect of what you're talking about, like crafting, for instance. How do you want? I think is that coming up? Crafting.
Is that one of our listings here? We've got beams and lasers. We gotta look at the sheet here. I'm scrolling down so fast.
No, it's not. Okay.
No, it's not.
Right. No.
Well, we're gonna get into national resources. We'll go ahead and you can go ahead and hit crafting now, because we're gonna go to natural resources next. Go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, it's like crafting. Like, how instant do you want that to be? How in depth do you want that to be? Do you want like someone to set out all the ingredients or materials in front of you before you can start crafting, or can you set it into this machine, just push a button, and it'll pop out when it's done? Because it's 900 years in the future. Maybe what happened to the energy to matter converter, you know? But, so like, or nanites and stuff like that, the 3D printing. I think in the future 3D printing will be faster and cheaper than what we have now. But you know, how much is gamified and how much is realistic?
Yeah, I don't know.
You're the same as me.
I struggle. You know, when we were talking about Star Atlas, we looked at some of the ships that were in Star Atlas, and there were some very cool looking futuristic designs in there. Like there's one ship that's just like a freaking triangle or cube, and you don't even see where the doors are on it or anything. It's just this perfectly, and inside there's no mechanical anything, and there's nothing there physical. And though I thought it was a very cool ship, I also kept thinking about, well, what's the gameplay when I get in here? Is it just that I get in here and just talk to it and it takes me somewhere and then I'm just sitting there? I'm not doing anything, right? Because there were no real controls, nothing mechanical or tactile, even though it was cool. And even though I could see that as a futuristic design, right? So, I often wonder, like, how much when we're asking for this game and we know that it's supposed to be based 900 years in the future, how do we strike that balance? Because I've heard people say this all the time. Well, we wouldn't be doing that. Or we would be doing such and such, And to me, it's kind of like trying to find that balance between what makes a game where people feel like they're participating in it and doing something, but also not to a point where it's cumbersome because you feel like it's in the future. And why do I have to? It's like, why do I have to crank the windows down on my, on my car? You know what I mean? It's like, isn't there a button to push?
Well, here's a question for you. How long do you think it should take to build a base?
It depends on the base. On the ground? I mean, a base could be a base could be just a simple building that you're living in. But how long? Okay. I mean,
I don't want to talk about the size of your hab. The size of your hab that you spawn into to make that underground.
Let's use the one that they used at CitizenCon. It was like a basic little home, right? Just that. Right. To build something like that, how long should it take? You're not talking about with gathering of resources. You're talking about how long should the drones take to build it? Is that what you're asking me, or how long is the process? Button and start
building from start to finish. Yeah, assuming you have all the materials and everything.
If we're talking about something that is singular, like a singular room, not multiple rooms, a singular circular room that I can expand on later, I would personally, in real time, minimum of 4 hours up to a day.
I was thinking 20 minutes.
Nah.
Because it's 900 years in the future.
No, you know why? You know why I'm saying that? Because there's no risk. If it only takes me 20 minutes to build it, or whatever you just said, how long did you say? 20 minutes? There's no risk. Yeah. So what if I lose it? I just build another one in 20 minutes. I don't care. It's got to be valuable to me in some time way. So that would be it for me. It would have to be a minimum of anywhere from 4 hours to a full day to build a single hab.
Yeah, notice out at 10 minutes, Serious Fun said 1 hour, Zombie Pitch at 23.
Oh, come on, you guys. Really come on, guys. 10 minutes, you would care less. If somebody blew your stuff up, you'd be like, no big deal. And you'd build another one. That was 10 minutes. There's no loss in 10 minutes. Come on.
Notice out says, I'm not watching my drone build 4 walls and a roof in 4 hours.
No. The idea would be you would set your drones to do it and go do something else. You wouldn't have to be sitting there babysitting it. Your drones are doing the building.
But you got to protect it.
No, you don't. Protect it from who and what? You gonna build out in the open somewhere where somebody can come blow your stuff up?
What are you saying? That there's no risk if it takes 20 minutes then?
No. You don't get what I'm saying. I'm saying that if your thing gets blown up, you don't care because it only takes 20 minutes to build another one. It's no big deal. The loss factor isn't there. But if it took you 4 hours to build it or a day, you would be way more protective of it. That's all I'm saying. It would mean something more to you if you lose it, is all I'm saying. 10 minutes, 20 minutes, you ain't going to care if somebody blow your building up. You just build another one. That's all I'm saying. And I'm saying set your drones, build it someplace where you ain't got to worry about nobody, or someplace where some friends are, and go do what you're going to do. You know, and there's other stuff, and there's other stuff you could do. The manufacturing thing could have other things that you're doing in the process too. It doesn't mean that I'm just saying it. That's me, y'all. I'm in it for the long haul, y'all. I'm sorry.
I know we're close to the end, but related questions. So you say it should take 4 hours. How long do you think CID will set it to?
Oh, I have no idea.
You think it should take 4 hours?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
No idea?
I have no idea. It'll be less than that probably, but I have no idea.
I think it'll be an hour or two for CIG, but I think it could be 20 minutes.
It could be.
That's me.
Yeah, I mean, an hour or two. I'll even split the difference between us and say an hour or two is fine if they want to do that. I'm talking for a very straightforward, standard, single circular dome. You know, that's it, right? If we start wanting to build on attachments in other rooms and stuff, then you can start extending those times out. Once you start trying to manufacture furniture and craft and all the other stuff that comes along with it. Yeah, you know, not to be funny, but by the time you start crafting and blueprinting and doing all, you've got to build generators, solar panels, all this other stuff. You'll have plenty of stuff to do for that 4 hour period while your place is getting built.
Yeah, you're right.
You're sitting around smoking a cigarette and you're freaking there doing other work. So to me, it's not a time sink as long as I'm doing something else during that period of time. But that's just me, you know. Togi says it'll be a matter of minutes for a single building. That'll be a waste of time, Togi. I'm sorry. That's a waste. If people can just pop buildings up like that, forget it. It won't even be meaningful at that point. Okay, let's move on to this last one here. Last two, natural resources. CIG talked about this idea of people being able to build factories and manufacturing. Is that how real do you want that to be? And what's the process of that even? When you start being able to like do farming or mining on your land, because they showed extractors. They talked about the Pioneer having extractors, right? How real do you want that to be? Because I remember when we used to play Galaxies, you used to come back every day and check your extractors. They didn't extract within minutes. You had to wait a whole freaking day.
I just hope they don't put fracking in the game. Anything but that. But yeah, I mean, from what I remember from the presentation, I was okay with that. I didn't have any issues with that. I mean, you have a big ass equipment down on the ground and it's extracting stuff from the ground. I don't recall how fast they were getting the resource from them though. But I say like a gallon on, or say like a gallon worth of volume of stuff takes like 10 minutes or maybe 5 minutes, depending on what the resource is.
Okay. See, for me, again, I'm only going by what we did in Galaxies. And in Galaxies, you set up multiple extractors, right? Because there was no one extractor. You would drop like 6 to 8, 12 extractors. And then you would come back like that next day. And to your point, each one of them may have pulled a gallon, but you've got 12 of them. So now you've got 12 gallons, right? So that was the idea. There was no one extractor that did all your stuff. And you could set your extractors to extract different things or based upon where you were. Now, I don't know how CIG is going to do it. They did talk about resources being in certain areas, right? You might find this particular material here, this particular material there. So for me, and they said that these things would deplete, right? You could deplete an area and you'd have to move to another area. And maybe over time, it may come back into that area.
It'll come back. Yeah,
right,
exactly.
right. So I think that's a pretty fair thing. The question will be what is the time frame for extraction?
Fast,
right, extraction would be the big thing, right? To see how that goes.
And how fast it comes back too.
Yes.
Another thing.
Okay. All right. This is going to be the one that we're going to tie everybody up with. Our last one for today. Repair and reclaiming. Okay. Repairing has not entered into the game other than what we do automatedly at stations and what we are able to do with the hand repair tools, right? We are able to repair damaged ships. Someone just told me recently, it was Zombie Pig or somebody told me that I think it was him and Colossal, they repaired a ship that was heavily damaged and got it to fly again using the repair tool. I don't remember how bad it was, but it sounded like the ship was like virtually jacked up and they spent some time. He says, yep, that they really put some time in and got this ship flyable again. I'm curious to see if a repair ship will get introduced into the game anytime soon. So we've got the Vulcan, we've got the Crucible, right?
Crucible.
Yeah. I think those are the only two that we've got, right? Vulcan and Crucible for repair, right?
I
Yeah.
can't think of another one.
Yeah, I think that's just it for repair. When they introduced repairing the ships with the material, people got excited and thought that maybe we were going to start moving forward with repair. Now, crafting has stepped up. I was on the Vulture the other day, and I didn't realize that they put multiple things now that you can craft out of the Vulture now, out of the back of it. There's a lot of stuff that you can repair, or that you can make, rather, right? You can make the canisters for repair, the repair tool, all that stuff. Now you can make all the multi-tool pieces. You can make them in there, right? Which is kind of cool. Versus reclaiming. And guys, Fastcart, why don't you talk a little bit about what CIG has said about why they want people to do more repair than reclaim in the future? Right now, everybody's reclaiming mostly, but what is the future for this repair reclaim thing?
So in the future, say 1.0 or before that, if a ship gets damaged and it's in space, they want you to try to repair the ship, get back to the ship and get it up and running rather than destroy it and reclaim it. That's the gameplay. In matter of fact, they even said that if you respawn to a different location, you can call a shuttle to take you back to the ship to get it to help you get it up and running again. And I mean, it does translation for you. The shuttle doesn't do anything else. But yes, they want to try to get away from reclaiming because that's gamified. They want something more immersive, more realistic in game.
Okay. How do you think reclaiming will work versus repair time-wise? And I'm going to give you, and we've had this conversation in the past, y'all, so y'all get ready to jump in on this one. If you have a ship that is totally destroyed, like you cannot repair it, it is jacked up, somebody spent the time to literally just destroy this ship, what would you be looking for a reclaim time? Oops, I just clicked off my lights. Hold on. Thank God.
Dark real quick.
Yeah, I know. Thank goodness that's not the computer that's tied to that, just the lights. What would you consider repair? I'm going to pick a pretty popular ship, a Cuddy Black. Okay. What would you think is a fair reclaim time if a ship like that is lost?
You're talking about 1.0, not now, correct?
Not now.
Okay.
What do you all think?
So
Sergeant Lobster says 2 hours. I'm listening.
I think if you're close to a Drake dealership, it should be quicker. But if you're far away from a Drake dealership, it should take longer. But how long did that take?
Wait. Before you answer, I want to throw some stuff to you guys. CIG said, now this could change. So it is not Bible. It is not in concrete. I'm just telling you what they said, how they were thinking about this process would work. That if you lost a ship and you put in a claim for it with your insurance company and you have insurance for it, that your ship would be returned to you in its basic state. And if you've got LTI or whatever, you get the ship back. Now, I'm not talking about components or any of that other stuff. I'm just talking about getting your ship back. But they at one point talked about the fact that the time of getting that ship back could also be impacted by the economy and what's going on in the universe. In other words, if there is a shortage of materials in an area, Origin is based out of Terra. If they don't have enough of a certain material there because players have not been delivering it there, or there's something going on where people are doing a blockade and that material resources are not in the factories there for Origin to build it, a ship that might normally take, I'm just picking a random number, 3 weeks might turn into 3.5 weeks or 4 weeks. This is where we start getting into real versus how real do we want it, Fastcart, right? Do we want that level of impact? Or do we want the guarantee that if I put in for this ship, I know I'm going to get it back within such and such a time? Is that pushing it too far that if I lose my Polaris or my Perseus, that maybe it normally takes, I'm picking a random date, y'all, so don't hold me. It takes me 3 weeks to get that back. But now, because there's no iron at this particular place where RSI builds, it's going to take 4 weeks.
That's a bit long.
I'm not worried about the time. I'm not worried about the time. I'm asking, is that too real to be impacted by the resources in the game that it delays me getting my ship back?
That make perfect sense. I agree. That's fine. Yeah,
okay.
Like, if we don't have the resources, it should take longer. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's go back to the original question. Cuddy Black, how long?
A day.
How long?
Day. 1 day. 24 hours.
Okay. Anybody know how much a Cuddy Black costs in game right now? Does anyone know?
Look it up on Oracle.
Is it like 1.5 or 2 million, something like that? Does anybody know? Yeah. Yeah. CR said there won't be a parking lot filled with Cuddies, right? 1.4
right.
Almost says 1.4. Okay. So you're saying, and depending on how much money, we don't know what the economy is going to be like, right? Because a lot of this is dependent upon the economy, right?
Right.
I don't know. I don't know what the average income will be for a person in the game in a day.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah, we don't know.
Like, what's the average? What's a realistic income? Mm-hmm. Is what?
The Cuddy Black is 2.1, 2,116,800.
Okay. Okay. So 2 million, just over 2 million. All right.
Yeah.
So you're saying I should be able to get that $2 million ship back in a day?
As opposed to 4 minutes, yeah. 10 minutes, yeah.
Okay, so 24 hours later, I get my Cuddy back.
Okay.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to scale up. Multi-crew ship like a Connie.
3 days.
Wow. Y'all put y'all numbers in because I'd love to hear what you guys think. Scale up again. Perseus.
Yeah, I gotta look at how big that thing is. Perseus is. Oops, that's not the right one. Oh, it's not a game yet. That's why. 5 days. I'm guessing.
5. Okay. Polaris.
6 days. I'm guessing.
Really?
I don't know. Well,
6
maybe 7 days for Polaris.
A
7
week.
days for the Polaris.
A week.
Yeah.
All right. Captain Jones says a week. How do you all feel about that? A Polaris in a week. Captain Jones said 2 weeks. He said 2 weeks for Polaris. 2 weeks. All right. All right. It should be brutal. Almost over says you won't needlessly risk your ship, or you will more willingly repair the ship. Okay. Yeah, because this is based upon destruction. Absolutely. You have plenty of options to repair, y'all. So this is only if it's destroyed. And remember, CIG said that they don't want ships to get destroyed. They want you to deal with repair. Destroy is going to have to be a deliberate effort by somebody. In other words, not like how y'all blow up people now. You had to sit there and wail on that sucker for a while before you destroy it. Okay. You're going to waste a lot of ammo and time trying to blow up a ship. All right. All right, Fastcart. We're going to move from the Polaris to the Idris. How long?
Oh my God. Yeah. Week and a half, 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Don't ask for the Javelin. Javelin maybe 3 weeks.
2 weeks. Okay. All right. That's interesting. Okay. I my numbers, I don't even know, y'all. They just be random numbers if I said it right now. I do like Captain Jones jumping to 2 weeks on the Polaris. And I hate to say it, if he went to 2 weeks on the Polaris, I would go 4 weeks on the Idris. But that would be me. Because here's the deal. They said it ain't like Idris is sitting in the parking lot ready to go.
Right.
ain't no Idris, showrooms, y'all. So your ship has got to get built, laid out, delivered. But see, there are some people who feel like that's too much lore. That's too much realism, Fastcart. They paid $1,500 for their ship and they can't play with it. Is that penalizing them? Is that penalizing them?
Get another ship you can play with in the meantime. Yeah, fly someone else's Idris. Or Polaris or whatever.
Is that penalizing them though because they can't play their ship for 30 days or 2 weeks? Is that a hard?
They don't have to pay for the repair because you have the LCI with it.
Yeah, but they don't get to play with that ship.
You just gotta wait for it.
But they don't get. Yeah, but they don't get to play with that ship. If that's their org ship,
you got to pay for it.
if that's their org ship, right? They're the small org. That's their org ship. Their org does not have a ship available to them for 2 weeks.
Darkness Meter said buy 2 of them.
That's an option, maybe. Maybe that's an option. All right. Well, anyway, we're having fun with this subject, y'all. But reclaims, just so you guys will know, reclaim times are coming. There are some people who honestly don't know about the reclaim times and how they're going to be balanced. We don't even know. We wish we could tell somebody, but we don't know. All we know is that it won't, destroying ships is not going to be a thing. And I know that a lot of y'all like to watch stuff go boom and blow up. Y'all might get some booms and some fires and stuff, but in general, the idea is ships get disabled, they get damaged, you go on, you steal what you want from them, you take their trade stuff, whatever else. If you want to sit there and wail on it, that's entirely up to you. But understand that while you're sitting there wailing and wasting ammo, that person has probably called for backup to show up to help. And you might have another fight on your hands just for the sake of saying, I want to see this ship blow up. But there will be some people that no matter what, that's what they're going to want to do, which is fine. That's their gameplay that they want to do. But I think that people are going to say, as long as I got what I wanted or I defeated them, you know, I'm out of here because I don't want to lose my stuff, right? I don't want my stuff to get jacked up and be waiting 3 weeks for my stuff to come back. But we'll see. We'll see what folks want to do later on. Okay, FC, we got through it. We hit everything. I think we hit most of everything.
We got a couple of Q&A.
We got a couple Q&As. Okay, go ahead and fire it up.
All right, so first Q&A is from Alma Kuznagi. Should medical professionals need to heal people with a mini game? And so someone who had their hand into every career is not a person you want fixing their serious injury. First aid, sure.
Yeah.
So the medical profession, we need to heal people with a mini game. Like you click something and then get into a mini game.
Yeah.
And the better you do at the mini game, the better you heal that person.
I don't know if it should be a mini game, if you want to call it that. I think that there just should be a medical procedure that you need to have a little bit of knowledge and experience in and get proficient at. I was just looking, Admiral, to your point, when you look at the medical terminals, not the one that you're on when you're in the bed, but the one that you stand up at, there is an admin section there. And I've always been wondering, you know, we always see the regen section and everything else, but I've always been wondering, like, what's the admin thing for? And the admin piece is what I think, like, if you're working in a hospital or someone else goes there, that's the thing that they will start to use. And whether or not there's more of a diagnostics of what's wrong with them, just like when we use the med gun, we can just do that general thing that only does so much. But if you hit auto and you go to the specializing and setting the medications a certain way, you can heal the person better and do better. I'm hoping that that's the same thing when you start dealing with the medical profession, that people know exactly, if I apply this medication, if I do this, I'm going to heal you up better. Maybe even if I heal you better, you have a better chance in your regen process when you regen versus if I just, you know, do the general thing on you. Maybe instead of getting 6 lives, you're only getting 5 because you didn't go to a medical person who hooked you up.
Someone got jacked you up.
Yeah. So
my thing is, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Now, my thing is, I think I would be okay with a mini game because if you lose, the person knows what turn red when you mess up.
Yeah, right. Operation. Yeah. What's our next question?
Next question is from Cotton Face. Do you believe the Star Citizen is influenced in any way by Star Trek core directive or cultural interference with technology, or cultural non-interference with technology? I think they mean. The Prime Directive thing and Star Citizen. And I know the answer to this one.
What?
They have the I had it in my head.
They have their version of it. Yeah, they have their version of it.
They do. They do have their own Star Citizen version of the Prime Directive. It's not First Contact, some kind of protocol.
Yeah,
I can't think of it. It'll come to me after the show is over. But they do have their own version of the Prime Directive.
Fair Chance Act. Thank you, Citizen Ninja.
Fair Chance. That's it. Thank you, Citizen Ninja. Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know why didn't Ninja that, because that's something not easy to remember. But
I know.
Look that up on the Galactopedia. And I'll give you information about that.
Yep, they do have their version. Yeah. We got any more?
Yep. Oh, something Joe decided just came in. Do you need to review a player's medical history? No. I'm just going to say no. I don't even need to finish that thing. Finish that. Whoa.
Whoa, almost over. Oh my God. Thank
Almost
you
over. Thank
so
you.
much for the 20 gift subs. You all show some love
20,
to
okay.
almost over for 20 gift subs. Thank you so much. Mayhem for the win. Thank you so much for the follow. We
Thank you for the
appreciate
follow.
that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate
Thanks
that.
for the subscription.
Oh, look who showed up, right?
Hey, thanks for the subscription.
All right.
Okay.
Mhm.
I had to look at the screen.
All right. Thank you all so much for that. Thank you almost. Okay. Let's jump forward because our time, we're already over on our time. Real quick, Fastcart mentioned this earlier. We do have the upcoming I got to find the video for it because I didn't have the video loaded. We are going to be doing as some of you all know, on July the 12th, Saturday, July 12th, we are going to be in Las Vegas for the Quantum Vegas 2955 event, which is a community-led event partnering with CIG, and we are so excited. We are getting closer and closer. We're 33 days away from the event. And so we are looking forward to you guys being there. Right now, we extended the ticket pricing until June the 10th. There's a couple more days. We kept the prices at $99 because people were asking us about it. So we extended it for just a few more days, but the price is going to go up after that. But we hope you guys will consider coming out to Las Vegas. There's a Bar Citizen that Friday night on the 11th. We're going to be at Area 15. You can look that up in Las Vegas. It's an amazing 200,000 square feet complex. It's perfect for geeks like us that you'll really, really enjoy. That Saturday is our event on the 12th, and we've got folks coming from Cloud Imperium Games. What am I talking about? I'm going to show the video. Bear with me here because the video is going to start and it's not ready to go. So here we go.
Quantum Vegas 2955 is a community celebration of the Star Citizen universe, uniquely designed to immerse attendees in the creative and technical brilliance of the game. Hosted in the unparalleled conference environment of Area 15 in Las Vegas, Nevada, this inaugural event offers direct access to developers from Cloud Imperium Games, influential community leaders, as well as other Star Citizen backers. This event offers interactive sessions with special guests covering the complexity of game development to community-driven experiences in a unique and intimate setting. Quantum Vegas 2955 is more than a convention. It's an immersive gateway into the Star Citizen legacy, an unmissable highlight on the gaming calendar. For tickets and information, visit quantumvegas.space and follow our social media on X, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Quantum Vegas 2955, by the community, for the community.
Alrighty. So we are going to be there. Fastcart's going to be there. I'm going to be there. Serious Fun's going to be there. A lot of people are going to be there, and we are really, really excited. Last week, we found out that Sandy Roberts, co-founder of Cloud Imperium Games, is going to be in attendance with us, and also Daniel Raymond from Raise Guide is also going to be joining us as well. Is working as a moderator and helping us with a mission competition that we're doing. So we have a lot of fun. We're going to say FC.
No, I almost over asked about Sandy. So you already took care of that.
Oh, yep. So we're going to have a great time. So hopefully you guys are going to be there. Yes, Sandy's going to be there almost. Yes, he is going to be there. All right. Let's go ahead and get ready to wrap things up. Let's talk about what we've got going on next week. Next week is Father's Day, and we will not be here. We will not be here next week. And so we're going to take off that day like we did on Mother's Day. We're going to have that day off on next Sunday. So we won't be around, but we do hope that you all will join us on that following day. In Fastcart, I didn't download the image.
I just put the link in chat.
Well, I'm looking for the image, though, because I need the image, and there's a reason why I need the image. So just give me one hot second here. All righty. Let's take a look at this. I did download the image. Duh. Here we go. You guys take a look at this. Next week, we are on Saturday doing, as you guys know, next weekend is International Bar Citizen Weekend. Next week, we are going to be doing a very small virtual Bar Citizen. And it's going to be on Saturday, June the 14th, 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern. Now, normally when we do these things, y'all know they last like 4 hours, and we do 2 of them. It turns into 8 hours, which turns into 12 hours. This year, that is not the case next weekend. It is International Bar Citizen Day. And so We put it at 12 to 3 because we know we have friends of our community that are in Europe who often would like to be able to join us, and in Asia and other places. And then we've got folks here in North America. So next week, all you have to do is scan that barcode. Now, this will be on our social media. If you scan it now, it's not going to take, it's just going to take it. There's nothing going on. But instead of us using Zoom, where normally you guys would have to register, all you have to do is click on that. It'll take you to the Google Meet, and all you have to do is just come in, and we're going to have a great time next week. So that'll be next Saturday. No show on Sunday, but Saturday. This, again, check our social media. This card will be up on Wednesday. It'll be up on Friday. It'll be up on Saturday morning. So even if you just wait till Saturday morning, click on that QR code, and it will take you to our thing. And you can also see if you want to dial in on your phone, there's a phone number there with a code as well. We'll make it real easy for you. So hopefully you guys will join us next week for that. CIG is going to be having Bar Citizens at all of their locations. So if you're in Germany, in Frankfurt, there's one there. If you're in Austin, there's one there. If you're in Manchester, there's going to be one there. So hopefully you guys will be able to participate in those. And locally, people are having them in their local bars. Yes, in Canada too, in Montreal. But people are going to be having them locally. So check out, go to barcitizen.sc, I think it is, and go to their website. Yep. Take a look and see if there's a Bar Citizen going on in your area next week. And if you've never been to one, go. You will thoroughly enjoy it. It is a lot of good times. And again, International Bar Citizen Weekend next weekend. Okay. Let me go back to our final screen here. Once again, we are getting ready for Lore Lighthouse. Serious Fun has been working diligently. He threw some stuff together this week. I won't say what it is, but did you see the stuff he did?
Yeah, I won't say what it is either.
Wasn't it amazing?
Look forward to it, though.
It was amazing, wasn't it? It was unexpected and very cool. So he's going to be doing some really cool presentations in relation to Lore Lighthouse. So that's going to be coming up as well. Next week, hopefully we'll have a solid date for you. I don't know what day or date he wants to start, but it is coming up. We want you to know he's been working really hard to get it together. I think it's going to be impressive what he's going to be doing to share lore in the Star Citizen universe. Okay, I think that is it. FC, talk to me. Who do we have to rate? Do we have anybody? I don't have my.
I was looking at someone.
I don't have my thing up right here. Who do we have? Who should we raid?
I'm trying to find a person that I just saw. Hold on, just making sure they're still on.
Meg is playing. She's doing Dune.
Yeah, she's not playing.
She's not playing the Star Citizen tonight.
I thought I saw Verity, but I'm not sure. Let me refresh.
Yeah, that's interesting. We've got Aria. Is that Aria? Yeah. Okay, Void Crew. Aria plays Void Crew with the crew. That's something different. Let's see here.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Star Citizen page.
Yeah, I'm looking at the other thingy. Wow. And usually we would like run across people. It's like hardly anybody. Valor Gaming. Let's
I see Gad, but I'm not sure if she's live or if she's that recording.
Who is?
Gabs.
Oh, Gabs. Miss
Yeah.
Gabs. Yeah, I don't know either.
That's a rerun.
It's a rerun. Okay. All right. So we're going to send you guys over to Valor Gaming. When you guys get over with Valor Gaming, let them know that you came over from, I think he's live. Is he live? He's staring at the sky.
Yeah.
Yes, he is live. Okay. When you get over there, let them know that you came over from the Soul Citizens. Don't forget to check us out on our social media. Like and subscribe. Hopefully you guys really enjoyed the show today. And as always, we're going to look forward to seeing you guys next week. Don't forget, next Sunday, no show. See you at the Bar Citizen, Virtual Bar Citizen on Saturday. And until later, peace, love, and soul. Take care of yourselves. Ciao.